fingers crossed, in 20 seconds. If you don't, I've cocked up. It doesn't matter. It does happen, you see.
I'm hearing something.
Yeah, you're going to hear the FFT jingle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually an experiment, what we're doing tonight. So this is a first on
3,
Food for Thought Radio.
2, 1, go.
Book club. Wake up your mind. Move. Fill up your day. Oink, oink. Smart little bites that brighten your way. You're listening to Food for Thought Radio. Here at FFTradio.com. Club Blue, oink.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. And this is an extra special show because we're live on Food for Thought Radio. And thanks to Paul English, who's done all the technical stuff, we queued in. I went about a minute early. We started a minute early, but the show will be is live on Food for Thought Radio and will be until almost 11 o'clock tonight. So thanks, Paul. It's a great job you've done.
It all worked jiggery-pokery brilliantly, did that. We're on Radio Soapbox as well, but we're just coming through from the FFT thing. So
okay,
yes, there you go. A good day slogging over the computer worked. It didn't seem
It
like
worked.
much, did it? But it took about an hour to set all that up to make it work. So
well,
it's working.
it's brilliant.
That's good.
Thanks a million. And also we're on Holy Land Radio as well, and Holy Land Radio FM, and HolyLandRadio.com. And also we're on Rumble. We're not on Facebook at the moment. We usually are. And YouTube. So welcome everybody to the show. And Aunt Sally is the first person in chat. So Aunt Sally, you can have a 2-finger salute for a celebrity or a politician of your choice. So there we go. So choose wisely, please. And we say good evening, Arsburgers as Fudge. And everybody's in tonight. And right, so let's kick off. And tonight our guests are Paul English, his Royal Hanorak, and also Survival Steve. And we've got two opposites here, and I'm going to be neutral. And when I say opposites, we're going to have a gentlemanly talk, like the Victorians and the Edwardians did. They would speak without interrupting each other, but just say their piece, and that would be it. And then the other person would say their piece, and I want the audience to go away thinking that person had a good point, the other person had a good point. Now, Steve, I believe you are. We're talking about Rupert Lowe and his new party, and you are very anti-government, full stop. We don't need government. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, simply because, personally, I don't regard myself as an imbecile or a slave, so therefore I don't need anybody to tell me how to live my life, especially a bunch of murderous scumbags known as the Goverscum.
Righto. And Paul, what's your view on this?
Well, as you know, Eric, I love government. I think it's absolutely smashing. I think it's a matter of horses for courses and whatever the situation is in front of you. In other words, what's the state of play as we look at it right now? So the idea of living completely without a government is extremely appealing to me. But the question, therefore, or one of them would be, how do you get there? I just think I'm quite encouraged by Rupert Lowe's decision, not because I view him as the ultimate panacea to all of our problems, but because it appears to me at this stage, and it's only a few days since he announced this, that it's a step in the right direction. And therefore, I'm happy to take up any positives that may come our way. And so you could say, well, it's just going to end up with another bunch of control freaks at the top end. Maybe. Yeah, there's probably a very good chance of that. But at the moment, the idea of setting aright some of the major things that have been badly done wrong to us, whether they can achieve this or not, of course, we will see, is not a bad thing. I think, pre-show a bit earlier, Eric, we were talking about Patriotic Alternative. Many people here are aware of Patriotic Alternative. And, they're pushing for the restoration of Britain, as it were. I think, broadly speaking, that's what we want. We have to decide what we mean, I guess, by Britain. But they've been talking, I think, in part of lending their support, at least this was a couple of months ago, behind reform. Not because, for exactly the same reasons, not because they agree with what they're doing entirely, but they're the least worst option. And for now, I don't think that's such an unsensible thing to do. So you look at positives wherever you're going to get them. I don't think we're ever going to get the sort of candidates that could correct things, because the sorts of candidates that could correct things probably wouldn't stay alive very long. But then it's easy, I think, to talk ourselves into a negative position with these things and just go, well, there's nothing that we can do and all this, that and the other. If we're to get to a point of having people living directly under the laws of God and under common law and all the other things that go with it, we've got to make some steps in that direction. This looks to me like it could be a good one. That's all.
Fair
Not
enough.
the ultimate solution, just a step in the right direction.
That's fair enough. Now the thing is, I'll tell you, right, I'm anti-government, total anti-establishment, but tonight I will be neutral. And I'll try and be neutral. Now we got Hanorak in the green room as well, and I think, is it okay? What I'm not just saying, Paul, or shall we say Hanorak? Shall we us to remain neutral for this evening?
Yep, certainly. I've just been having a quick look at Rupert Lowe and just looking into who he is, and he seems to be. This isn't an rhyming slang. He seems to be a banker. So that says quite a lot, really.
Yeah. Well, I think he's Tony Blair. I think
that means he could fix banking, right? That means he could fix banking. It all depends how you want to look at these things. He's from Barings and J.P. Morgan. He could. It's a possibility.
Well,
what makes you think that banking is broken?
It is from our point of view. It is broken. It's not from their point of view, but from our point of view, it's absolutely broken. Yeah, it's
so it works in favour of government. And I'll be quite honest, I never heard of Rupert Lowe until about 3 days ago. And the second time I heard about him was about 10 minutes ago when Eric mentioned him. I'll be quite honest, unless Paul and Eric can fill me in on a couple of salient points about the blokes, just so I know who I'm going to completely destroy out of the equation. For everybody to understand that the guy's not fit for purpose and neither's the government. So, fire away.
Well, can I first of all, before I go any further, Aunt Sally has done a most important, very important, this is the most important part of the show, so the two-finger salute. She said, can you do a two-finger salute to the Epstein files? I'm bored with hearing about them. With pleasure, yes, with absolute pleasure, because I think the Epstein files are a misdirection. While something's happening somewhere else, it's hotting up in the Mediterranean, I think, with the American fleets going there and Iran. So I think to the Epstein files, I agree there. The thing
Doesn't anybody want to join me and read the 3 million pages that they've released? Come on, let's get started.
Well,
it's only 3 million pages. How hard's that going to be to get through? That'll be easy. You can get that done by the end of this month.
Well, no, next thing does it start with Once Upon a Time?
Quite honestly, I'm going to be finding this very difficult to be neutral, but I will be a Trumpy neutral. What I was going to say is, any political party, my attitude is, look who's financing them. Because if, say, we started a political party, the Fockham Hall political party, you would, and we had a pretty good, we had quite a few million people backing us. You would find industry jumping out the woodwork saying, look, we can lobby you, certain countries, I won't mention what country we're not allowed to mention, would be in quicker than a greyhound with a rocket up its bum, saying, here's a couple of, we'll be okay. As long as you promote us as being really nice people. We don't bomb children. We're so nice. That's what I've found out, that Mr. Lowe does support a country that we're not allowed to criticise. But apart from that, I just thought I'd mention that. Now, I'm going to be neutral from now on, okay? So I'm going to have to be neutral. So
Well, again, looking at the information about him, he was chairman of Southampton Football Club, so he's definitely of their world, because football is definitely satanic, should we say?
Yeah, I'm just occupying a role here. It's not that I disagree with what you're saying, but how would you get it's whether you think that this is a viable thing to do. I actually think it is, to be quite honest, for the simple reason that most of the common folk, us, can't get organised for note. Now, whether this ultimately turns out to be a really great thing or not, I actually don't know. Nobody does. But he's saying less worse things. That's the way I put it. He currently appears to me to be the least worst option. If you're going to have a transition period, how should that be conducted? To get from where we are to where we envisage we ought to be, what are the mechanisms that would be used? If you think we're going to communicate to everybody, and I do, by the way, that's why I do what I do, we also have to sort of acknowledge that the rate of growth in this thing is incredibly slow. Anything, if you can piggyback a ride on something else for a bit and then get off, do it. I'm viewing it as an opportunity to maybe gain some ground. He's raised topics that no one's talking about. If nothing else, it's a litmus test. I mean, if we go back, say, 10 years in the political space, not that I pay too much close attention to it because it's full of the sorts of people that you won't want to spend any time with, but they never talked about migration in the way that they're doing now. The rhetoric is building up. Now, you could say, and I think it'd be right to say, oh, well, they're just pump priming us so that we have a big conflict. Possibly, probably, yeah. Historically, those sorts of things have gone on. Yet we've still got a problem. We've got 8 to 10 million people living in this country that shouldn't be here. So I would say solutions, gentlemen. What your solution be?
First solution is to, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Alice Gorgeous, I didn't realise that you were the first in. I'm sorry, it is favouritism because Aunt Sally did give a sizable amount to the Fockham Hall party, so Now that's how politics works. So I was first, but perhaps you can't see all the comments. Probably I couldn't. I'm terribly sorry. Please accept my apology. Smack on wrist, and you can have a choice of anything you want. So any politician or celebrity of your choice, and. I've got one that I was listening on Sonia Poulton about Stephen Fry, but no, I won't stick a two finger salute up at him. But anyway, he might enjoy that. Yes. So we'll split it in LS. Sorry about that. It wasn't deliberate. My mistake. Here we go. Right, Sam. Gary or Sam, shall we say? The issue is always the same: the government or the market. There is no third solution. Ludwig von Mises. Yes.
I guess the thing is, though, I suppose they've had, technically centuries to get to where they are now, whereas we've had sort of a decade, maybe, for where a lot more people have become awake and realised what it's all about. So I suppose we're on a bit of a back foot in that respect, and I suppose we are fighting.
I'd say we're definitely on a back foot, but they've had over 400 years to get to where they are, and what they've done is basically they've destroyed cognitive function from practically every man, woman and child in society in order to become totally dominant over a body of people to promote slavery. So what I would say first and foremost, I could not give a flying toss about Rupert Lowe. I don't even know who he is, other than he was the chairman of, Southampton Football Club. Other than that, I have got absolutely no consideration for the bloke. Unless he was to pop into Parliament with a massive bomb, blow the place up, and then arm the citizenry with machine guns, who could then be responsible for their own safety and well-being from the hands of tyrants, slave masters, and order-following buffoons such as the police and the military. Bearing in mind, I used to be in the military. I used to be the biggest clown in the UK, one of the biggest clowns in the UK, simply because I was under significant mind control to the point where I actually believed that government was a solution to a free and fair society. Sadly, I was 101% incorrect in that diagnosis. Now I've managed to cure myself from mind control, bearing in mind this is one fundamental we need to get established first and foremost. The word government means mind control. It comes from the Latin term gubernare mentis. That means mind control, M-I-N-D. This thing in here, when you've got your control of your own mind, government are completely erroneous to anything that you require in terms of freedom and liberty. And if anybody wants freedom and liberty, well, you can never establish that with government. Never. Doesn't matter who the politician is, who the prime minister or the president is, freedom and liberty will never be established with government. Period. The end.
And Alice Gorgeous has come in and she said she wants a 2-finger salute to all of them. And that's right. Okay, Alice, thanks. That's excellent. And there was a mention earlier about Arsburgers from Fudge has just popped out of the room. Are we talking about Rupert Lowe? Yeah, loosely. Yeah. And there was another question. Now, what's he says now? Mark Anthony says, yes, they all swear allegiance to the funny Hat Brigade. Yeah. We won't go in. We're not allowed. Things we can't discuss. Now, the thing is that, Steve, a big problem. Don't you think that if we start being violent towards these people, we're coming down to their level? Because I think we can destroy them by our minds.
I mean, that's a great question. That would be my first port of call, to have a non-violent abolishment of government. But all I would say is brilliant. If that happens, brilliant. And I would absolutely 101% encourage that. What I wouldn't rule off or out is the need to defend oneself. Bearing in mind that they pulled the first blow. Government did. If anyone was asleep for the last 6 years, well, they've just happened to poison. I don't know if I'm going to choose my words carefully here. They've done something to about 6 billion people that shouldn't have happened. 6 billion people. So frankly, 6 billion people at this point in time, if they were in charge of their own destiny because they managed to acquire a little bit of understanding in their own heads and realize what freedom and liberty actually meant, then they'd realize that A, the government are illegitimate, morally illegitimate, and it can never be any other way. They will always defile the natural laws of God, what's something known as natural law. They will always be in opposition to that. They will transgress natural law. They can't do it any other way, because you can't be in control of another man, woman, or child without transgressing natural law. So that means practically the entire world under government are slaves. To define slavery is drudgery or toil. And another way to define slavery is, let me read this from a book. This is the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Submission to a dominating influence. So that is the dictionary definition of slavery: submission to a dominated influence. I think that government, the word that means mind control, can be technically associated with slavery. So if people want to be slaves, crack on, do nothing. If they don't want to be slaves, then they have to either peacefully resist and abolish government out of existence, or if that doesn't work, then they're going to have to resort to the self-defense principle. This is why slavery has been perfected in the UK, simply because there's now zero guns, other than the odd shotgun, air rifle, and a few other bits and pieces. But practically, the citizenry have got no Second Amendment equivalent. In practicality, they haven't anyway. In sort of common law Yeah, in common law there is
under English law.
Yeah,
I
under the
believe
Bill
we
of
have
Rights.
the right to bear arms. There is, I believe.
But what I would say to that is good luck to anybody who thinks that they can just pull out a submachine gun and, oh, it's all right, it's under the Bill of Rights here, so I'm well within my capabilities. I don't think that's going to work with the police or the military in this country. But what I would say is I would definitely, as a former soldier, I would definitely recommend that if peaceful means doesn't work or doesn't have the desired effect or outcome to the abolishment of a tyrannical death cult called the government, then I would definitely 101% advocate for violent means. Period.
Okay. Now, the thing is, one thing that Rupert Lowe did mention, which everybody's saying, oh, fantastic, he was on about banning halal slaughter. But someone pointed out that if that was the case, he'd have to include kosher as well.
He
Says
did.
It will happen.
He did, Eric.
If he gets
mentioned
selected,
kosher as well.
Okay.
He did.
Now,
just to let you know.
Bowler Hat Farmer said the other week, 90% of slaughterhouses are owned by Jewish people and Muslims. So how are we going to get that ban through with 90% of slaughterhouses being owned by those groups? So over to you, Paul.
Well, I don't know how. There's lots of things I don't know how. I think I'm in good company as well, to be quite honest, right? But that shouldn't stop us chiseling away at looking at it. The fact that he's mentioned it, I think, is a major thing. The fact that he just said it is really quite important. It falls, as you said, absolutely in line with what Mark has been saying recently, that there's hardly any Christian, as it were, slaughterhouses. So this meat's being killed in ways that if people saw it, they would not be happy. Kosher's worse than halal. They're both equally bad. And I've thought for quite some time that this could be a way to get the women on our side, because they have a great empathy for the plight of animals, or at least there's a tradition of that, certainly in recent sort of culture with all sorts of things, and rightly so. And it's a good thing. I'm not saying it in a denigrating way. So the mere fact that it's raised up is like putting a stick in a hornet's nest. Whether these things will actually be able to gain traction or not, we don't know. I assume, I'm just guessing, it's a pretty labyrinthine, sick sort of place, this political place. I mean, I've got no evidence to suggest that it's a healthy place for human beings to be. Healthy ones that go in there generally come out unhealthy. The interesting thing about Lowe is that he's not really a professional politician. He's only got into it relatively recently, as far as I understand. Whether that actually means anything or not, I don't know. He also talked about having in the party not these professional politicians. I think we would call those the city types. He talks about them. These are people that really, he didn't mention this, but these are the people that detest beauty. So I'm not viewing it as the ultimate panacea to all these problems, because, you would say, well, we've got a good government, but the answer would be, well, it's not as bad as the previous one, but we've still got one. That's a fair point. I'd agree with that. But to get people to that point is going to take some time. And I'm looking at my watch. I don't know how long that's going to take. I mean, the thing about government, as Steve was mentioning, this thing about governing the mind, there's a sort of challenge for all individuals is, who are you going to let govern yours? You or someone else? In the vast majority of cases, and also for huge periods of all of our lives when we were younger, our minds were governed by government. Ostensibly, so they always say, to protect us. And if government does have a purpose, it would be to ensure the safety of its people inside its national borders, if you think it needs one. Historically, groups and villages always have had that. There always have been stronger men that formed the battalions that defended the village against the other village coming down the road. Whether we like that or not, whether it's sound and under law or not, is not really the point I'm trying to make. It just is that way. It's that way right now. It's deranged. It seems particularly, it's so deranged now because there's very little argument that you can put up to suggest that people should be sure of the necessaries of life. Food, water, clothing, shelter. These things really, we've got the capacity to provide all of these things for everybody planet-wide if we wanted to and had a proper goal. Of course, the whole of the goal-setting thing has been hijacked by globalists who are communists, who are Fabians, who are all these secret societies, these people who think that they are entitled by virtue of the fact that they are the descendants of this ancient cult of Moloch and Baal and everything else, to be in charge. I mean, that really is that's the epicenter of the whole thing. I'm not imagining Rupert Lowe to address those things, and I'm not viewing him as if the sun shines out of his proverbial rear end. All I'm sort of observing is, as a communication, it's the best one so far. Way, way short. I accept all that. But what are you going to do to move people? If we want, we talk about people waking up. And we should talk about people waking up. And people have woken up considerably more than they did 10 years or 20 years ago. I just remember having conversations about these sorts of things 20, 25 years ago. It was pointless, really. Apart from being slightly entertaining and a conversation in a pub or something, there was no real point. But now there is attraction with people. People have got a sort of connection to it as a topic. And these words like Fabian Society have been, they're appearing more frequently. And that's a good sign. It means that the process of people wanting to govern their own minds to attain self-control is underway. It's never going to go as quick as anybody wants. It's always going to be like that. So you can always look at the negatives and sort of big them up. And there's a tendency to do that because that's human nature. It's not like this, and I want it like that, and all that kind of stuff. But if something comes along that might actually get us ahead a few yards, would it not be worthwhile paying a bit of attention to it? I personally think it is. You might disagree with me, but I think it is.
That's interesting.
Not because I'm going to put 100% of my effort in that direction, although I wouldn't mind finding out more about what they're going to do and how human beings really operate, because a lot of our people have got drawn into supporting political parties. I personally have no idea why. I've never voted for one in my life. But they do. They're our kith and kin. They're floating around and they're a bit clueless about stuff. So whether one guy, and it'll be more than one, it'll be down to the quality of the team that he might be able to get around him. And what could you realistically expect? That they may be able to fight a good rearguard action like Marshal Ney did when they were on the retreat from Russia. It's a good analogy, it really is. You say, well, what's the point of that? Well, he saved a lot of men's lives that would have got slaughtered otherwise, and they managed to have a core to recover to. We're kind of in that situation to some degree. It's not a situation, I think, that any of us, given a blank sheet of paper, would choose. But so be it. This is where we're at. So I view it as a positive. Not an ultimate positive or an ultimate panacea, but he's talking about things. He's talked about how we get the mic. I mean, I was talking to Mark yesterday. I didn't know this. This is just another thing that, there's just tons of stuff going on that's all pretty negative. You can't sit in this stuff all day long. I don't think you can, because it's exhausting to the soul. But he was telling me that apparently, I think it's in Manchester or Birmingham Airport, or one of these airports, there's 1,000 Afghans a day arriving. Forget these on the boats. Something is organised against us. Now, the question is, could a political party go into that political arena and affect that? I don't know. I think the chances are pretty slim. But the positive of it would be that more people, more villagers in England and Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland and Ireland too, because we're all in the same boat, pun intended, with this, get to wake up a bit more, get to discuss these topics as opposed to just, grazing on football and garbage on TV. That's a plus as far as I'm concerned. It's not the ultimate answer, but it's a step in the right direction.
But the thing is, by the way, Paul, sorry, Anurag, are you? Would you like to say anything before?
Yeah, I was just going to chirp in and say that I guess the issue you've got is that any politician can be bought. So, given that this guy's background is in the banking world, it won't take long for him to come in and say, well, I'm going to do all this, that, and the other, and then somebody gives him a backhand of a few £1 million, or he gets compromised. Well, if you don't do what we tell you, we'll show this picture of you on the Epstein list, for example. And then that'll change the course. And let's be honest, they've all come in. No matter which party comes in, one of the things they always bring up is, we'll sort out migration. they've been trying to sort out migration for the last 100 years. They still haven't managed to solve it. And let's be honest, that these people who are coming across in boats are being paid probably to come across in the first place. And I suspect these guys who've just arrived, as you say, in the airports, if they're fleeing war zones, let's assume, how do they manage to book tickets and get on flights over here? Because that must have been quite a few £1,000s to get, unless they're being paid for by the people
points.
down in Downing Street.
Of
That's
course they are.
excellent points. And over to you, Steve.
Well, I would ask Paul there, how do you think what is the root cause of, let's say, people with chocolate-coloured skin coming from third world nations who have all been bombed and obliterated by military action by the likes of NATO, including the UK and the US? How and why do you think they're all coming past the whole of Europe, past many other countries that are a far better place than the UK to live and inhabit? Why are they coming across the channel on a rubber boat into the UK if there's no major influence and directorship from the political powers of that be in this country? It's all orchestrated. It's all done by design. And not only that, it had NATO and some of my colleagues not been to some of these faraway lands and completely destroyed these places and societies, they wouldn't have no cause to emigrate or to become refugees. This is all done deliberately by design. I'm sure you're aware of a certain plan known as I'm not going to say the word because I think this agitates the algorithm, but it begins with either a C or a K. I must admit, I can't remember.
Oh, say it, Steve. Go on. It won't do anything. Go on, say it.
Hove Perverve plan. Yeah, I haven't said it. I've said it wrong, but
yeah.
I think we know
come
what
on,
you mean.
don't be so timid. It's fine. It won't make any difference.
And
Well,
also,
we all know what it is.
we all know what it is.
Yeah,
It's a
good enough
plan,
Kalergi
but-
plan. Come on, let's spit it
Yes.
out. That's what it is. Yeah.
Barefoot Foragers raised a very interesting point, which I'd like to cover. She says, "Why are we scapegoating the Jews?" No, we're not. No, we're not at all. It's the country, because there's lots of Jews that don't like Benjamin Netanyahu, that don't like Israel. There are many that don't, and there are. I've seen protests with rabbis that are totally against the state of Israel. So no, we're not scapegoating anybody, because ordinary folk. I'm on the side of decent, ordinary folk. That's what I'm on the side of. It's the psychos in this world. It doesn't matter. As I've often said, close your eyes and shove your finger on an atlas, and you put your finger on a country, and you find a bleeding psycho running it. So we're not scapegoating anybody. We're talking about the country, not the people.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and I'd
must
like to
admit-
clarify that. Please.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the ordinary, the ordinary Jewish tailor or cobbler or anything like that. No, the ordinary folk. I'm talking about the psychos in power, the money shifters. So I hope I've clarified the point. Over to you, Steve. Sorry.
So just another caveat I would mention in response to Holly's point as well. I mean, international Zionism is not the root causal factor that we need to address and resolve. It is an issue, and I agree it's a major issue, but it's not the issue. The major issue, I would say, in fact, I'm not even surmising here. The major issue is spiritual problems. Simply because most people on earth don't even understand what freedom means. They don't understand how to obtain it. They don't understand what liberty is. They don't understand autonomy. They don't understand sovereignty. Furthermore, most people on earth, and I'll put this to the floor if anybody wants to correct me out of the guys here, and this isn't a condescending question, but sadly, most people on earth don't even know the distinction between right and wrong. So I would ask that question to the floor here. What is the distinction between right and wrong? And then when, depending on what answers we'll come up with, I would ask the viewership at home to answer that question to themselves and see what they come up with. Because when you've got a world who can't answer or define the difference between right and wrong, how do we then apply it into our lives? And And all I would say on that is if the majority of people don't understand and can't define the difference between right and wrong, you can see why there's an interloper called the government who steps in the way to take advantage of our lack of understanding here. So what's the difference between right and wrong?
Do you mean to answer that one? I can put my
Yeah.
view across.
Far
I
away.
think,
Come along, mate.
I think the difference between right and wrong, right, is being looking after your fellow human. I don't like using the word human. Looking after your fellow human, looking at doing acts of kindness, being respectful of people. I guess respect is one of the things that comes into that quite a lot. Is if you respect each other, you'll do right. If you've got no respect in society or in wherever you live, then you get the opposite effect of it. So I think being right and wrong, I guess we do all understand what's right and wrong. I guess it depends on how deep you go into that.
That's excellent. I mean, Narrow Laning has said, Steve, can I add an intermediate step? Take down every camera, burn every cable box, then head to the data centers. Very few can take down the control grid. Blind them first. Interesting one.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't they be putting them back up as quickly as you can take them down? I mean, I've certainly been looking at this stuff with the ULEZ guys in London, and as quickly as they're removing them, the van turns up and they're putting them back up again.
Yeah. I mean, I'll come to that later if that's all right. But
please do. Now, Paul, I mean, what do you think of the gradual approach? He's gone. You still there, Paul?
I haven't. No, I'm here. The gradual approach.
Well, this is what suggested. Yes, where we blind them first by taking down their data centers and taking them down their cameras and just. I call it the yellow vest approach, because when the yellow vest started, they didn't have a leader. But boy, weren't they effective. This is in France. And why were they effective? Because there were people that were farming folk, and farming folk are generally self-reliant. They don't rely on others. And it's the city folk that I think that couldn't organise up in a brewery, quite honestly. It's the farming folk that's going to change things. I don't think it's the city folk. That's my theory anyway. So it's open to anybody who wants to answer that one.
Well,
I think... Steve, please.
I would like... Sorry, Paul. I would still like to elaborate on the distinction between right and wrong, because there was an objective behind it. If not, I'd gladly wait till you've answered Eric, and then I'll bring it up if you want. If that'll snap things forward.
Certainly. So I was just reading something from Nathan. He said he'd be with us at 8:15. It's now 20 to 9.
Is the old transport for Wales by any chance?
Yeah. Does anybody know a locksmith can actually get him out of the cars where he's locked in? So there we go. So now Mark Anthony has come up with a good one here. Governments do not govern, but merely control the machinery of government. Well, civil servants around the country, being themselves controlled by the hidden hand. That's a Benjamin Disraeli quote. I didn't know that. That is an interesting one. Benjamin Disraeli said that.
Well, they like to tell you what they're doing to you.
Yes.
They're like hubris is a quality they're not short on. And
you're right, but I actually look on Rupert Lowe. Sorry, I'm trying to be neutral here. I can't be. A little bit like Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair, and Donald Trump, telling people what they want to hear, and once they get power, that all goes down to Kazi. Margaret Thatcher, we're going to reduce unemployment. And they show pictures of labourers and working, loads of people outside the unemployment offices. They get in. What happens? Unemployment quadruples. It goes through the roof. Tony Blair said he's going to change everything. Oh, yes, it's going to be good. Loads of people voted for him. What did he do? Made this country more communist than ever. So, I'm sorry, these people are very good at telling you what you want to hear. They're like used car salesmen.
I completely agree with you. I'm not sort of, I'm not taking a position here that Rupert Lowe's going to solve all the or someone is going to do that. I mean, that's never been my position. It's not my position now. This is a matter of least worst options under current circumstances. It's like saying, hang on, stop. Let's stop all this. I want it like that. Okay, great. Well, it isn't like that. It's not like how we want it. It's like this. This is what it's like. It's actually this, isn't it? Yeah. I could sit down with a blank sheet of paper and write out what we would need to do. And anybody that started to do those sorts, I'm not the only one. Anybody who started doing those things probably get killed. You know, you made your investment be on a defense battalion to make sure you didn't get destroyed by tens of thousands of parasites, literally, who already hold considerable amounts of power in this system. They just do. And the way that they retain it is you don't know they are, but you know that they're there somehow. There's that creeping feeling. I think the more you kind of look into the history of how we've got into this situation, the more sort of overwhelmed you get in a way. There's so much detail to it. How much of this detail do we need to share amongst ourselves? We need to share some. I think much of that's been going on for the last 20, 30 years, particularly since 9/11. That was the first great big sort of kickoff in public. 9/11 galvanized an awful lot of people, and loads of other attendant topics came up, particularly the banking thing. We know all wars are bankers' wars. It's the economics. Now, it may turn out, as Paul sort of has touched upon, that Rupert really is a banker at heart, and you can't get it out of him. I don't know. I'm just saying you have to go on what people are saying at the moment. If you gave me a choice, if you say, look, you're going to live in a tyrannical state, but which tyrant do you want to rule? I'd go Rupert Lowe. Why? Because I think I might get more wriggle room. Now you go, well, that's not much of a solution. I'd agree with you. It isn't. But it's the least worst one if he's able to achieve anything. I'm not saying he's going to.
Why would you need any tyrant to tell you how to
No,
live
I'm
your
just
life?
Anybody that gets into government by default becomes a tyrant. That's the nature of it. It's tyranny, isn't it?
I 100% agree. Every single person who comes into government is a tyrant by default. It cannot be any other way. It's logistically impossible to rule over anybody without having some degree of tyrannical nature in order to do that. And as I say, everybody in government and parliament has to be a tyrant in order to impose slavery and tyranny upon other people. If you have to impose any degree of law, statute, act, or decree upon any other living person, it has to be done by force. So therefore, you can never, ever have a government who is not violent in nature, because they have to use force in order to apply the decrees. It cannot work any other way. So therefore, all governments, no matter which imbecile is in charge, no matter what's he called, Rupert Lowe.
Rupert Lowe.
Yeah, no matter what his intentions are, which I can guarantee is all going to be horse shit, and that's without. Do you know what? I'm just, even though I know nothing about the bloke, I don't even know what his party's called. I can guarantee 1,000,000% that whatever he talks is going to be pure horse shit, because that's what they've done for 450 years.
That's right. Sorry, mate. Carry on,
can I just add to this, because I want to mention a point that Alice Gore just mentioned. If you're still advocating for politicians, are you really awake? I mean, me and Nathan wrote a book called Fake Awake, and I can tell you now, if you want to know what Fake Awake is, anybody who's, and no disrespect to anybody on the panel here, anybody who advocates for government is not awake. It cannot be the case, because to be awake is just another term for aware. If you're not aware of what freedom or liberty is, then you can't then claim to be 100% awake or aware, because you don't understand what freedom is. Because if you understand what freedom is, you would understand that government don't play any part in freedom other than it completely annihilates it. And it's done that for 450 years.
Can I put a quick question to you then, Steve?
Certainly.
So what would you classify as completely free? I mean, I know you're very much aware of all this that goes on, but presumably, do you drive a car, for example?
Yeah.
So you're not. So even in that respect, you're not 100% free because you're still reliant on the monetary system in order to fill your car up, etc. So you are. So even though even if we deem ourselves as free, we still aren't. Even in the bigger scheme of things, I mean, you can't travel anywhere without the government putting their nose in some way, shape, or form. You can't get on a train without a ticket. So you're still within. The only way I suppose you'd ever be free ultimately is if you live off the land. You don't live in a house. You don't live in anything that's potentially state-owned or owned by the government. I think it'd be very difficult to ever be 100% free as it stands right now.
I can't.
I mean, even down to things like shoes and, we need clothing, we need food. That's all reliant on. We're still not free of the system, even if we wanted to be.
Well, no, we can't be. And what I like is what Paul Stubbs said. He said the overriding trait of all politicians is narcissism, and one of the main traits of narcissism is that they are pathological liars. And even Tony Blair admitted it. He said, "Oh yeah, we all lie." I remember him saying that. Now Sam said, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the rest of your name there. The word hierarchy has almost disappeared from the managerial vocabulary. And with other words like project, partnership, etc., they give the illusion of choice or consent. Absolutely bloody spot on there.
Yeah.
I'm sick of getting government shit through, excuse my language, with the such and such a partnership or this partnership, that partnership. Bullshit. But now... The thing is, say that I don't think Rupert Lowe will get in at the next election. Somehow, he will probably.
It'd be fun if he did.
It would be.
It'd be more fun. What do you expect? I mean, really, what does anybody expect to get?
If he was a Freemason,
I'm not sat here thinking, "Oh wow, there's a political party that's going to solve everything." That's not what I'm thinking at all. I'm not thinking that. Freedom's it's an interesting idea of freedom. I'm not even interested in it. I don't think it's even relevant.
We've never had freedom. We never had true freedom.
You don't even need it. It's not even important. It's a complete chimera. It's a sort of fiction. What does it actually mean when you break it down? You're not free. You're restricted by so many things for your own damn good. Right? It's the imposition of restrictions which you didn't consent to that chafes. That's the problem. You're 6 foot, you're 5'3", whatever it is. You can run 100 meters in 15 seconds, but this guy can run it in 10. Right? You're not equal. You're restricted. You're not as free to run as quick as that guy. You can go on and on and on with this sort of picking away at things. It's
everyone
not
to their
important.
own. It's everyone to their own. This is what the left don't understand. I mean,
absolutely, they don't.
I'm
you're right,
over you there.
Eric.
Sorry, I'm terribly sorry.
No, it's all right.
I've talked over you there. It's very rude of me. Sorry about that. Carry on, Paul.
It's just overall. It's not the content that I'm sort of addressing, although the content is important. But it's this thing of not being able to see the wood for the trees at times. And I think, if we think about, say, the left, or I'm just using that word, Bolsheviks is a better thing. They don't like people making up their own mind. They don't like people having expanded choice. Why? Because they're fearful, rightly, that they won't choose socialism. Because they won't. Because it's just not in our instincts as physical blood and bone beings operating with the remnant, as it were, of goodness in us on the fumes of the good stuff. Because it's not all been bad. We're just told it's always been bad. It hasn't. People still get to have a laugh. You're always going to have pressures. There's never going to be a day in your life where something don't go wrong. So what? Big deal. It's been the same for everybody else. You're sitting around moaning about it. It's a joke, right? What we can do, though, is we can push in directions that give us temporary satisfactions, because that's, I think, the best you can hope for. And every now and again, there may be a major upheaval. I think, we're in a time where something major is happening. There's nothing new in me saying that. But on so many different fronts. We've got a situation where AI could undermine the entire nature of these conversations. We may look back on this, say if we're still kicking around in 10 or 15 years and go, bloody hell, all that was made irrelevant. I'm serious. It could easily be made banking could be made irrelevant by AI in its current form. Now, no doubt, the evil incumbents in charge are already fully aware of this because they've got gazillions to give to all these top brains that work for them they've got things planned out decades ahead. That's, if you think we're going to go up against them, I'd forget that personally. I'm much more interested, I guess. I think of us like mold in their building. I want to be a super mold that we just start to pop up everywhere. And every time they put a bit out, 10 times as much appears until it starts to come down. So it's just a matter of looking for opportunities that's in front of you. I've never been free to drive a Ferrari. I'm really pissed off about that. Well, I was when I was 26, but I was never free to buy one because I didn't have £90,000 in 1986 to get one. And it really irritated me. If I got one now, I'd look like a dick. So I probably wouldn't even get in the seat, to be quite honest.
Sure,
actually,
I would do one.
Yeah, I could get a little one and pretend, couldn't I? But I'm making a joke of it. I mean, it's a big deal. We're up against, or something is up against us. I mean, I'm not aware of most of the people that I've grown up with who sort of wanted to pick a fight with anybody, to be quite honest. Normal people are just not interested in that. They want to get on with their lives. And there's a great deal of value to be had in having a humble life and to having humility and to not lusting after loads of crap. I mean, you do when you're young, like I wanted a Ferrari, but then I'd have had to insure it. I've had to wash it all the time, and you get bored with it. It didn't give you what you thought it was going to give you. You want these things because you think, if I get that thing, I'm going to be this. If I get that big house, I'm going to be that. No, you're not. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. So
my smart car identifies as a Ferrari. So there we
I like
there we
your
go.
smart car already. What
Yes.
it's got ambition. Does it?
It's got 595 cc's of raw power. So there we go.
My bus I took from Newport today identified as a Ferrari when it was red and white and rear engine. That's about as far as it went.
Can I answer my own question from earlier? So the difference
Certainly.
between right and wrong. So this is fundamentally important because this will help to establish how government is completely unnecessary. Don't get me wrong; you're not going to determine this just from the understanding of this question or this answer. We'll also be able to establish through further contemplation and philosophizing that government is in fact not only unnecessary, it is actually the embodiment of evil. So, Paul, and I'm just quoting what you said earlier. You're not massively bothered by freedom, but there is an expression that evil is the destruction of freedom. So evil defined is the destruction of evil. Plato, who was a wise man, he defined evil as ignorance is the root of all evil. You're probably aware of that. But freedom, why is that important? Well, government, what the job of government is to do, and they've been doing it steadily since in the UK since the latter part of the 16th century, is to erode your freedom. So you were born a free person, you're a free man, you are still a free man in the eyes of God. However, somebody has taken over that ownership of godly powers, and that is an entity called government, who believes that they are gods on earth and that their law is just and right. What they also know is that they can never override the laws of God, something called natural law. So what they have to do is they've got to brainwash individuals and societies into consenting into their, illicit terms. So they're illegitimate terms. These are all designed, they need your consent. That's why you were born with a birth certificate in order for the state to take possession of your soul. You become lost at sea, and you're probably aware the Cestui Que Trust and the straw man, the 1666 policy, where every man, woman, and child became a servitude to the state. They became the property of the state under their maritime law legislation, which is illegitimate, which defiles godly principles. It defiles your freedom. And so what's happened is many people have grown up to believe that they're not even free and they don't even understand what freedom is all about. Well, freedom is something that you were born with. There's a few principles we need to understand and appreciate here. No man has the rightful authority to rule over another. Why? Because everybody is born equal. If everybody is born equal, well, what makes the government more equal than others? Absolutely nothing. The only thing that makes it possible is mind control. So mind control, to subvert and subjugate somebody's understanding, is a form of deceit and coercion. Both of these are forms of transgressions of godly principles. If I was to deceive somebody and deceive them of money, for example, I would be a criminal. Government are criminals because that's exactly what they do. But they've been doing it for so long that people have just accepted it under their brainwashing program. But there is another thing that we need to bear in mind here, and that is that freedom and intelligence are directly correlated. And I mean, I can quite easily summarize this by saying freedom and high intelligence runs parallel. Slavery runs parallel with low intelligence. So if people want to be slaves, then they have to be of low intelligence. And I'm not trying to say that I'm the brain of Britain here and anybody else who supports government isn't. I'm just saying intelligence is eroded through things like mind control, not the IQ type intelligence. But to answer the point I made earlier, what is the distinction between right and wrong? This is a fundamental principle that people need to really, really establish, contemplate, philosophize on, because this is where we need to start off any notion of government. What's the difference between right and wrong? So a right is any action that causes no harm to any other sentient being. Any action. And I've said this on the show before, that means if I want to drive at 40 mile an hour through a 30 mile an hour zone, as long as I don't hurt anybody in the process of that action, then no law has been broken. If I want to smoke weed all day, poison myself with morphine or cocaine or cannabis, if I want to smoke cannabis, in fact, if I want to grow and sell cannabis or any other drug, as long as nobody else is harmed in the process of that transaction or that act, then no law has been broken and I am in the right. When the police come around and they brutalize somebody because you've got possession of a class A drug such as magic mushrooms, class A drug, you've got possession of class A drugs, that's 7 years in the slammer for picking something off a field so you can watch little fairy lights tinkle around while you're getting high on magic mushrooms. The police are fundamentally in the wrong. Anybody making policies such as the government to take away and disable somebody's fundamental God-given rights, they are in the wrong. So government, police, anybody acting in partnership with the government are fundamentally disobeying God's natural laws. So to augment what I've just said there, a right is any action that causes no harm to any other living being. Therefore, a wrong is any action that does. So therefore, the police and the government are always in the wrong because they cause harm in almost everything they do. So if that's not enough of a case to say that actually we need to look twice at what government's all about, I don't know what else is.
Excellently put over, thanks. I mean, the way I look on it, and I'm sorry, I just can't be neutral on this. The way I look on it is it's a bit like becoming a member of the mafia and thinking that you can change the mafia and turn them all into Jehovah's Witnesses. You'd never do it in a million years.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand both sides of the argument. I can understand Paul saying, well, yes, at least this is a step in the right direction. But we thought that Thatcher was a step in the right direction. It's a step in the wrong direction.
She was. Wasn't she?
Sort of. Well, yeah, but Yeah, but look, hang on a minute.
Well, I know I was a
all the
lot
mines that
happier in the
closed down.
80s than I have been in this century.
Yeah, but she destroyed the mining industry.
Oh, she had her
destroyed-
jobs. She did some terrible things. Absolutely.
She
Yeah.
destroyed British industry, and she was only doing what she was told to do. Look at Blair. I mean, he was finishing the job. He actually asked Margaret Thatcher in when he got elected, and she was advising him. So, really, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's the mafia, and I think it's an attitude change that is needed for people, because it's a bit like my neighbours talking about going to the doctors. Saying, well, my doctor said there's no. I said, well, hang on a minute. Whoa. You are your doctor. You're just using them as like a consultant. You don't do what they say. You say, yeah, I'll think about that. I'll go somewhere else and look this up and look there and I'll look at natural health and look at this and look at that. And then I think, no, that's the difference. We've been conditioned from school to look up to a leader and believe people in fancy dress costumes, if they're wearing a white coat and have a clipboard, or they've got a funny helmet on and a bleeding funny fancy dress, and they call themselves the police, or a politician in a suit, people in suits, standing up talking a load of bullshit. Now the thing is that that's the way I'm looking at it. I think it needs a fundamental change in people's mentality, and school is conditioning people to be sheep, unfortunately. I was conditioned to be a sheep, and I think we've all been conditioned to be sheep. So that's
I think that's the issue where it all starts from, though, as well, isn't it? Is that it started at a very young age. I mean, I can remember when it used to be my dad would go out to work and my mum would be at home, and she'd be looking after the house. But of course, that's all been changed with as things get more expensive and so on and so forth. One person can't afford to go out to work whilst the other stays at home. So I've said this many times. The family unit is slowly it's being destroyed, isn't it?
It has
and how we used to be and how we are now is. I mean, if my nan was still around, she would hardly understand how we've got to where we are now. From when she was young, her world would have been completely different from this. And I think school is one of the starting points where that needs to be changed. Maybe homeschooling or just teaching children life skills rather than crap that they don't really need.
Well, that's an interesting point. Now Sam Guri says, not exactly. In a free society, you can drive at the speed you want if it's your private property. Well, this is what we have here. Or if the owner of the road allows it. I can be wrong, of course. Well, yes, this is under government. But what I believe, I can't speak for Steve, but the way I look on it, if you're driving along at 2 o'clock in the morning and there's a 30-mile speed limit and you want to do 50 miles an hour and you're not going to harm anybody and you're a competent driver, I can't see anything wrong with that at all. Why can't you? Can't you be free to do? I understand we need traffic lights, and it's very important to stop at the red traffic light. And, that's a very important thing because it saves lives and lets traffic flow easily. I will abide by that. And I think most decent people will abide by it, to stop at the traffic lights. But if there's no one there and it's a red light, you can go through it. Why not?
So this is all about exercising conscience. And this is one of the things that we'll never be able to do as a society when we abide by government rule and dictatorship, because we can't exercise conscience when we're exercising the diktats of a more superior force who operate under forms of violence, threat and duress. All of these things, as I've said, are violence, force, threats, duress. This is all transgressions against natural law. These are the laws that govern the boundary conditions of how the universe operates. It governs what's known as morality. Morality is understanding the objective difference between right and wrong, which I mentioned earlier. A right is any action that causes no harm. So if I was to drive, let's just say I drove through a red light, and I'm not advocating for this, by the way. If I drove through a red light because I could see there was nobody there and nobody was going to be harmed by my actions, no consequence has been enabled in the universe. Nobody's been harmed. I've caused no hardship or harm to anybody else. No law has been fundamentally broken other than the laws that government and the legal system impose upon people to monetize and claim ownership of their actions. So if anyone claims ownership of a person's actions, such as the government, then they are by definition slave masters. If they are slave masters, we are then their slaves. So in order to be slaves, as I've said earlier, you need to be of low intelligence. So this is why government make a point of compromising the education system, dumb people down. So, for example, how many people watching today ever learned something called natural law or their fundamental God-given rights in the education system? Because I certainly didn't. I only found this out as an adult after working for the government for many years of my life, and realised that I was actually working for a bunch of satanic death cult murdering scumbags. And if we don't look at any form of government as Satanists, then we are still not awake to what's going on in the world. Unless you can fundamentally see in your own head that the government are actually Satanists, then I have to say we are not yet awake to what's going on in the world. A Satanist, by the way, I can define what a Satanist is. Many people think of the Hollywood variant where they dress up in robes and they do little black magic spells and chicken bones and spill blood. No, a Satanist is something that is of a dangerous mindset, whereby there's a number of conditions where Satanists will have accrued in their own head space. So one of those conditions is something called moral relativism, where they think, essentially where they believe there's no objective difference between right and wrong. So if you don't think there's a difference between right and wrong, that means that we can, or they can, make up the rules to suit themselves, which is exactly what government do. They've got no appreciation between the objective difference between right and wrong. That's why they violate all our God-given rights. That's proof testament to that fact that they are all moral relativists. Moral relativism is the second most important mindset of a Satanist. So government are all Satanists.
But that's a good point, Steve. Sorry, excuse me. I hope I'm not chiming in here, but I think that what you're saying, if we stopped government now, click my fingers, bang, we stop government, it would be absolute chaos because the people have not got the right mentality at the moment. And Barefoot Foreigner has said, how do we educate people so that everyone is at a level of spiritual maturity and personal accountability, just as that government is no longer required? It would take several generations. Seriously, I really do believe it would take several. We couldn't.
I don't actually.
I think it'd have to be gradual. So
I don't. I mean, one thing. I mean, I was I used to do heinous things at the bequest of government, and within 6 months, I changed my understanding. My mindset changed completely within 6 months by having a certain education on morality. That same education can easily be. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, but we as people in the truth movement, if we can't get to grips with what morality is, and we still cling on to the belief, the religious belief that government is an essential part of the process of how society functions, then the whole of society will be screwed forevermore. The truth movement need to get to grips with morality. They need to know objective morality. They need to know what Satanism is all about. They need to know what a spiritual mindset is and how to acquire it. And then they have to teach that to others. And right now, at the minute, that's not happening. I would almost say at all. It's happening in very, very small doses, which is why, I mean, there's loads of people in the truth movement, for example, are trumpeters. Little do they realize that that guy is actually the Antichrist. But well, what do I know? But regardless of that, if we can't, as a movement, as a body of people who are a little bit more intelligent than the average zombie out in the wider world, we can't understand the difference between right and wrong at our level, I think society as a whole is screwed.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Now, I'd like to go over to Paul, but first of all, before we go to Paul English, I'd like to read out Asperger's as fudge, which is quite interesting. Anybody can answer this. If I drive and make it home after 12 pints of wife beater without harming anyone, is that okay?
If nobody's been harmed in the process, then no law has been broken. But what I will say, there is a fundamental difference between objective right and wrong, an objective fact. That means it's not subjective. It's not my opinion. It's not somebody else's opinion. It's objective. That means it's a truth and principle, which is hardcore fastened into a universal function. There is two other principles that we need to bear in mind in how the universe operates, and that is the non-aggression principle and the self-defense principle. I.e., do no harm, take no shit. If your actions, such as driving with 12 pints of wife beater in you, there's a good chance that you can cause harm to somebody. That, even though if that didn't happen, then no consequences resulted from your actions. But that doesn't mean that you're operating from a position of high conscience. You're not exercising conscience if you're doing activities like that. And that's one of the important things I mentioned earlier about exercising conscience. If we can't exercise conscience, then there is a good chance that we will start to operate in a state of low morality. So high morality is about doing the right thing.
I guess a lot of this boils down to common sense and using...
You're right.
If I get in my car and I'm Oliver Twist, what are the chances of me actually running somebody over? Well, that's quite high. Okay, so common sense would say I'll walk home or I'll get the bus home or whatever. Yeah.
And I'll
make my way home without the car.
You're
so
right.
Obviously, in that world, what we need is to bring common sense back into
mature
the world,
people.
Because the common sense is completely missing anywhere at the moment. That seems
you need people to be able to exercise conscience based in moral guidance. So if we don't have a moral education because we'll grow up with the belief that government is morally acceptable, which most people do. I mean, I would argue with 1 million people and they'd all bark at me as being wrong, when really I'm the one who's right out of this 1 million people, because we've been led to believe that government is morally legitimate, i.e. that they've got the moral right to do what they see to be fit, righteous, when it's never is. For example, if we wanted to put an end to warfare, which I'd imagine most people in the truth movement do, and I do, even though I used to be a soldier for a job, I want to see an end to war. We will never see an end to war if we've got government. Never, ever, ever, ever. It's part of their business strategy. It's called the conflict continuum. Government, however, most people think government are doing the morally right thing, so therefore pretty much the entire human species is advocating for warfare, all of them.
Now, over to you, Paul. You've been very silent for a while, so Paul, if you could sort of recap your point, that'd be very interesting.
Oh, I don't know what point to make, really. I've just been listening through. I suppose.
Well, I want to be fair, you see, because I want this show to. At the end of the show, to people to sit back and think, well, Steve had an interesting point, Paul had an interesting point, and Rack had an interesting point.
Well, I suppose. I mean, you're kind of framing it in a certain way, which I'm not sort of into, really. I'm just, because I don't disagree with anything that Steve said or that Paul's, all of these things are true. It's not either or. I'm really just, I suppose, my focus is the situation as it actually exists right now today. Like I was saying, theoretically, there's a way I think we yearn for to live. The challenge is, how do we get from where we are now to where we think we want to be? And the thing is that when you set off on those journeys, your thoughts about your destination change as well. You go, oh, actually, I thought I wanted this, but this turns out not to be quite the right sort of thing. I just, in terms of transmitting messages to large numbers of people, which I'm interested in because I think I'd like to live amongst more happier, healthier people. I think everybody wants that. I'd like to be one of them. You never know, but that's the idea. It seems to me that under current circumstances, we have to find a way of gaining power. That's a big, big, horrible word, isn't it? But the way I view power is it's simply the ability to do. And some people have the ability to do a lot more under circumstances than other people do. This is how, I guess, whether you like it or not, leadership has arisen. I think I mentioned before, there's an example given by Buckminster Fuller in his book Critical Path, or Critical Bath, I guess, if it's Aunt Sally's, if she was reading it. Because they're all critical, those baths, aren't they, Sally? So, but he talks about the big guy in the village. He said, in villages, you'd have a guy who's bigger. And so they'd pick all the apples at the height that they could pick them for, but then there'd be apples higher than that. So the guy that was bigger would be called upon to do a favor to everybody else. And so he'd start picking the apples. It'd be all right at first. After a few weeks of this, he'd get a bit fed up, right? I don't want to pick everybody's apples. Like, when does service become an obligation? When, are they then waging war on him? You get, in just a simple situation, you immediately get all these sorts of questions popping up about who's serving whom and why the service ethic, you could say, has disappeared or has been reduced massively in our day-to-day living, which I think it has. It's not the same sort of thing. People, we have to learn again, in a way, to give freely without the expectation of things coming back. But we're at the receiving end of hundreds of years of constraints placed upon us, and it's amplified the worst aspects in many cases of our behavior. Self-interest on steroids. And none of it is really ultimately satisfying, but most human beings, I guess, operate on the basis, well, I survived. The survival instinct is very strong, and it's caused all sorts of, well, sometimes in certain situations it's absolutely what's needed, but in day-to-day living it can get out of hand, and people take advantage of other people, all this kind of stuff on an individual basis. So, but just going back to this giant guy, at some point he turns around and says, okay, look, I'll pick the apples, but I want this in return. And slowly but surely a hierarchy develops. I'm not aware of any situation where it hasn't. Maybe there are certain African tribes or tribes in South America that have developed a different sort of model for operating. I suspect they're not that large, which in a way is very appealing. There's something about the sort of village size model seems to tap deep into a root, certainly with us here in England. It might not be the same elsewhere, but certainly here. But you end up, there are people of different abilities. And they may, you can view this either positively or negatively. You can say, well, thank crikey, we've got this guy that's 8'3" and can pick those apples. If we didn't have Bob, who's 8'3", I wouldn't have had any apples for the last 3 weeks or whatever it is. This is good. Or you could say it's terrible that we've got Bob because he's bossing everybody else around now. There's a yin and a yang, a good and a bad to all of these sorts of things. I think looking at a sort of an overarching theme from what I perceive to be the bad side is going back to this point that was raised a little while back. They don't like us to have choice. Choice is a biggie. It's a big part of being able to discover who you are. You make good ones, you make bad ones. You make really bad ones, you can get really seriously hurt, right? It's part of the learning curve. And the reason they don't want you to have choice is that they want to be in charge of all the choices. There's a psychology there. It's ancient. This goes all the way back into biblical times. I'm absolutely convinced of this. This sort of, we are ruled by an extended cult that really does operate on moral relativism, as Stu was talking about. It does. For them, the ends do justify the means. The only problem I see with that is that there's no such thing as any ends. Nothing ends. It just doesn't. Even when you achieve that good thing on a Sunday afternoon, come Wednesday, you've got to get busy with something else, right? There's going to be, the sun's coming up tomorrow. It's not going to end, not in your lifetime. It's going to keep going on and on and on. So it's how we want to behave and conduct ourselves on the journey. And there are certain things that are completely, at the moment, today, sat in my little radio shed, totally beyond me. I don't have the power to do all that kind of stuff. I mean, if we want to educate people about lots of things, and I'm really all for that, the things that they're not educated about. I mean, they're educated about things that are surplus to requirements, and their great power, same sort of like with the media and the TV, is not what they put on, it's what they omit. And they omit from your education things on right and wrong, morals and ethics. They don't teach you about banking. They don't teach you about these great forces that impinge upon your life that you are literally mystified about. You're raised in a condition to ignore them, because that is the root of that word, ignorance. It's a condition. And ignoring stuff is where we slip up, because it means, I think, on one level, you're aware of this thing and you choose to stop paying attention to it. And there's limits on how much things you can pay attention to as well. I mean, you get on the internet, you go, oh, I can't read all this. It's probably really important. Am I a bad person for failing to understand this? Not really. You've got time constraints. So it's all down to choices that we make. When you know, like when you get married, you choose that man or that woman. And in the same time, in the same split second, you unchoose every other man and every woman. They're not in it. And then people fret about whether they chose the right one or not and all this kind of stuff. I think life's not easy, but it's not meant to be. I think, and I'm not, just coming back to this whole government thing, I'm just saying I see how they've arisen. I think I see how they've arisen, right? I think in all sorts of situations, take a football team, right? In a football or any sports team, someone is usually nominated captain. Why? Are they the ruler of the team? Yeah, they are actually. On the pitch, they're certainly the go-to person when there's a bad position that you're in or whatever. You go, who put him in charge? Well, this guy called a manager did. Why? Because this guy that has been appointed captain has got more qualities. He's got more fight and fire. He communicates better under certain situations of pressure, and he's proven to be the best guy for the job until his legs run out at 35 or whatever it is, right? So life's shifting all the time. Could we ever get a good leader in government? Ultimately, no. Did we ever have a good king? Well, I'm going to say, yeah, I think Alfred the Great really was great under the circumstances. It's all about context. It's nearly always about context. So if you don't know what people are doing, this guy's really bad. Yeah, but do you know his backstory? No. Right. Do you know why he did these things? No. Have you ever heard him talk about it? No. Maybe that might be worthwhile to find out. Now, by the way, I'm not trying to be some apologist for people like Tony Blair. These people are vermin. Yeah. They're willfully against the laws of God. And, coming back to what Steve was saying about Satan, my understanding of it is it comes from a Hebrew word, shaitan, S-H-A-I-T-A-N, shaitan, which in its first sort of iteration meant adversary. And it's come to mean the adversary, I would suggest, of the laws of nature, the laws of God. A Satanist are people that are opposed to the natural order of things and for letting life unfold under the true guidance, however you want to see it, of the Creator. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people here. And I think this, again, just tapping back into this biblical thing, this goes all the way back to these Nephilim, these fallen giants, these dominators. They really were the big guys that could pick all the apples off the tree. They really existed. And a whole cult grew up around them. And the people in those cults to this day, even though they might not even call themselves cults anymore, are moral relativists. And they believe in power. And they don't have a guiding, that thing that's in us here, that's getting expressed from moment to moment in this conversation. You never sense that it's present with these people at all.
You're spot on. I agree.
If Rupert Lowe turns out to be one of those, then I don't think he will. But you never can tell.
Well, look
the
at
few
Tony
good
Blair.
ones get in there.
Look
They
at Tony
just
Blair.
get in.
Who could that
I'd rather not.
If I could cut in here, I think we're basically aiming in the same direction in many ways. But there's a poll that I've just opened up on Telegram, and it'll be open for as long as a piece of string, and you can get onto the Telegram channel. No, not in my crutch, but down below in the description. So if you want to vote on there, if you'd like me to tell you what the voting is, so far it's 100% one way. So if you want to turn it the other way, it's entirely up to you. So there's voting on the Telegram channel now. So there we go. But I think we're all saying the same thing in a different way. Carry on, mate.
I can imagine where it's going. I don't mind. One other thing that's just worth thinking about. A little bit.
I don't know.
I was just going to say this thing about these organisations that we perceive to be against us, and we have a lot of evidence to support that, I think. And the numbers of people that are seeing that evidence are growing, which I think is a good thing. I don't know quite how it's going to go because it's human beings. It's like herding cats, right? And I'm one of them, meow. But I remember John Irwin, the guy who I'm trying to chase up at some point, maybe to get an interview, even though he's probably in his mid-80s by now, but he's always been a pretty lucid guy. I remember in a conversation I had with him years ago when we were talking about these sorts of things, he said, what you have to do, he said, there's only one way to really overthrow them. And I said, what's that? He said, you have to do to them what they've done to us. I said, what do you mean? He said, you have to infiltrate their organisations and destroy their organisations from within. I think that's a big ask. I think it makes sense on some level. I think if you send people into these places, even good men, and good men have gone into the Houses of Parliament, but obviously not good enough. They didn't work out that they were going to get flushed down the toilet. But if you could get enough of them in there, it might be possible to stop it for a while, Marshal Ney-like, fighting a rearguard action. And in the extra time that we would gain from that, and the extra freedom of thought space that we would achieve, it's down to us to come up with better solutions along the way. I can't say how this is on one level ever going to end, but the nature of it could change considerably. There's always going to be, I think, for human beings, when they wake up on a morning, something in front of them that they're not happy about. That's good. Seriously, that's a good thing. Because you need something, you need grist for your mill. You've got to have a thing that makes you get out of bed. And the day when you can't be bothered to get out of bed, it's kind of all over. When you sort of go, sod this for a game of soldiers, that kind of thing. And it does. We all get that, I think, intermittently. I do.
We do.
And I go, bloody hell, what am I doing?
I can tell you
just
the
make
poll.
it up as you go along.
That's right. The poll is now 50-50. Literally.
It's only 2 people voted.
There's only 2 people voted, yeah. So
this is conclusive evidence. Democracy works, everyone. Brilliant,
yes,
Eric. That's
2
fantastic.
people. Yes, only 2 people voted. Oh, sorry, 2 people voted. Yeah. So yes, it's rather interesting. So now, my friends, so I'm doing my Huey Green impression. Vote. We can have the crapometer. Do you remember the crapometer on Opportunity Knocks?
Yeah.
This is Opportunity. Mm-hmm. And did you know that I think it was Freddie Starr that let the cat out of the bag? That is actually a bloke with elastic band pulling like a little lever. There's nothing technical about it. It's just bullshit, the clapometer. And because... Sorry, I might be going off the track a little bit, but when I was very young...
No, it's important. Also, I would just like to say, I think Steve's absolutely correct when he talks about Trump ushering it all in. Yeah. He absolutely... I've forgotten the name of him. There's a character referred to somewhere in Scripture, and I can't remember what it is, but he's fulfilling that role to a T. He absolutely is. He's a Judas Goat. That's not even the thing. It's...
Isn't he supposed to be one of the 7 kings?
It's just off the charts, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a bit like Opportunity Knocks for friends. And what happened is they went to outside broadcast. I never forgot this. And I was only a little tot at the time watching the television. And they said, I was off the seat with laughter. I think it was about 7 or 8. And they went to an army camp. And there's all these blokes just come back from Aden or somewhere. And there's all these great sort of Marines sitting there. And the acts they had that week was absolute crap. A little girl tap dancing, some bloke upside down on a ladder playing a mouth organ. And and it says, all right, and now we have the upside down mouth organ player, and you get this hardly anything. And then you have the little girl tap dancing, and what a marvellous piece of tap dancing, and they go. And they actually had a belly dancer there. Now, these blokes, I think, had just come back from Aden, so you can almost hear the fly buttons popping as she's going round like this, doing all the old belly dancing. And now we've got our marvellous piece of culture here, the belly dancer. The bleeding thing. And she actually won it that week. What a surprise. And they went to another army camp, and she won it that week as well. That's it, yes. And I've never forgotten that. And I like what Huey Green said. He says, just goes to show our fighting boys and girls like culture. Yeah. And as she was sort of dancing around, you can hear this whoa in the background. Anyway, I just thought I'd lighten the tone a little bit. So let's have a quick look at the poll now. It is, what is it now? Oh. It's 3 people have voted. It's 33% yes, we do need a government. 67% no, we don't need a government. So there we go.
Hooray!
Yay!
What
But that
did the
could change.
Where is this dodgy poll, Eric? Where is it?
It's on my Telegram channel. And you get a link down
Which-
in the. What's
Tele-
name?
Oh,
It's
Fuck 'em All
Telegram.
Radio, is it?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Fuck
okay.
'em all one. Yeah. So I bet you're going to vote.
I would like. I would like to ask a question. Perhaps, there's 2 polls
Yeah.
who I could ask here. What do we need government for? Could somebody please enlighten me why we actually need a government?
Precisely.
It should be easy. Yeah.
I
I'm
think
all
we need a
ears.
government in so much the same way as an elephant needs a hang glider.
Oh, that's biased. That you're meant to be.
Oh, but I've got to be
Yeah, especially in the
impartial.
middle.
Yeah, sorry.
I think.
Oh, I think they're marvellous.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hello,
Hey.
mate. Hey, it's Patrick.
Hey.
Hello, Patrick. I do hope. I wonder if you put a decided vote in.
I don't know if it's a deciding vote, but it's a vote. I did. Put a vote in.
Oi. So
I'm probably
'cause-
the only one on that poll that
Well-
said we do need a government.
Oh, there's 3. Hang on, let's see how many's voted so far. It's absolutely 3 votes. Yeah. So
I
I
think
won't
we
tell-
need-
I
why
don't
do
know
we
whether
need
to
a
vote yes or
government?
no. It's too exciting.
I know.
I mean,
it's-
Eric, from a certain perspective, we do need government, which is that without it, there'd be nothing to talk about in these shows. You do realise that. Be just everybody
my-
be just
my granddad-
crickets.
Well, my granddad had a marvellous saying: politicians he didn't like, and excuse me if we're in America. Sorry, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, in America. If you have children, put your fingers in your ears. He used to say, if there's a politician that came on, he hated. He'd say, "He needs a bag of hot shit in his face." That's his statement all the way through. Some po-faced politician would go on, "He needs a bag of hot shit in his face."
Well, Eric, maybe that's a new role in the Houses of Parliament. I mean, they have the remembrancer. Maybe they have the hot shit manager, and he's a bloke. Come on, and just call him up. Just hurls it. Yeah, absolutely.
What I believe is we should have whoopee cushions filled with gravy on a House of Commons seats. Now that would be a bleeding laugh, wouldn't it? As it's televised. So. But now,
Perhaps Patrick can answer why we need government if he's voted for them. Why
Good
do we
point,
need
mate.
government, Patrick?
I would say so that the parents with children have children that outlive them. That's my vote for having a government, because you do need to instill virtue in those children and protect them. And just like a family has the head of the family as the father, so it goes in the greater realm of government and nations, because every nation is basically made up of many families in a larger government. So you do need people protecting society. Otherwise, it could, just because you have everyone
protect
being
them
their
from
own
what?
government doesn't mean that
From
you're
the
not gonna
tribe
have-
up the road, Steve.
Right. Well,
But
what
wouldn't
would
that
the
be-
tribe up the? What would they do? The tribe up the road. What would they do? And what?
They come down and
what would
take
the
all your
government
shit.
do?
That's what they
Well,
used
that's
to do.
what the government do. So the government don't just take all your shit. Actually, they take away all your means of protecting yourself from others who would take all your shit, and then they enact and enable laws to persecute you and prosecute you should you even have the audacity to try and even speak about protecting yourself from the
I suppose the
nasty
theory
tribe
is-
up the road.
If you're living under natural law, then you shouldn't need to worry about that in the first place, should you? Because in theory,
Ideally,
we should
yeah,
all be-
you should have
we should all
reasonable
be on
people.
we should all be on the same wavelength, as it were. So we should all be we'd all be ultimately living peacefully, shouldn't we?
Can
I guess
we
that's what
don't.
we're aiming for.
We
but
don't
is-
do it.
Is
I
there
agree with you,
anywhere?
Paul, but we don't do that. Or certain people don't do that.
Is there anywhere where government, and I can think of one example that has really worked for the people, and there's only one example I can think of, and that's Gaddafi. And that's it. Can you think of any other governments? I can't. I
I
don't
can't
really
think
know
of a
about.
single one.
I suspect if you
No.
find any president who's been bumped off by the elite, shall we say, I suspect they probably were. Because they don't like that, do they? Let's be honest.
I think any nation whose government gets closer to empowering its, I hate that word and I've just used it, but providing a growth curve of more freedoms and autonomy for its individuals, any government that does that, and I think Libya did that to a great degree, history tends to show that the other nations around it destroy it because the kings and governments of those nations are made to look bad. And their own people come knocking on their door and say, why can't we have it like that down the road? And he didn't know how to do that without losing all his money, so they go and chin him or have a fight. I think it's really basic stuff, unfortunately. This is not about it is ultimately about morals and ethics, but they don't exist in enough people at any given time to actually hold sway, or at least history tends to show that they haven't, not very much. Whenever sort of some nation has really got its shit together and starts to do a lot of good for its own people, the banking cartels around it, and the best example really I would suggest is Germany from the 30s, organize the indebtedness of those nations around it, which is the root cause of this, to gang up on them and wipe them out because they prove to be an embarrassment. And so you've got literally, it's not just our own nation, is it? It's an interdependent diseased system that's spread worldwide. Me just describing this there's no sort of hint of a solution here. I just know that whenever a nation has done that or started to step in that direction, you can't really say that any of them have totally succeeded in that regard. Right. They don't get very far because it is beginning to go in the path that those people that want to control everybody don't like. So there's a path to go down. Maybe it's been the wrong one all the time. The practical challenge is if you overthrow a government, it would be a disaster, not because there aren't people like us that could understand how it ought to work, but because the vast majority at the current time wouldn't. And therefore you would get, on a practical basis, a lot of friction and probably violence in the society because people would be lost under the current circumstances. So I think we've got sort of like a theoretical thing, which I completely agree with, and I'd like to do everything that I can to achieve it. The question really is, how do we do it? What's the incremental steps that we take? Or is it just literally an overnight thing? There are some people who believe, and there's a part of me that does as well, that really it's almost like a miracle is needed to change the shift in people's heads on a huge scale, so that like over a matter of a few months, people go, stop all this, right? But in the absence of that arriving, I just think growing our own food, working together on a local basis is it. You know, if we're going to do these things, we can't tell people. You got to show them. That's how it works. You got to just do it. And if you're not doing it, it doesn't matter how much hot air I expel. It doesn't make any difference. It really doesn't. I don't think people can only respond on successful action that they can see with their own eyes. They go, look at that. That's working. Unfortunately, the enemy can see it as well, and then they come along and bomb you, which is a bit of a problem. You know?
Well, with politics, you have to realize that it's always going to be a matter of the lesser of two evils. So like what you were saying earlier, Paul, about what's Rupert Lowe being the lesser of the evils that you're confronted with politically.
Yes.
Because we have to truthfully be able to analyze the situation of where you are in the government, what kind of government you have. That's the reality. Like in America, it's a republic, which means it's a majoritarian type ruling that takes place with the Congress and rules. So that's just it. If you don't have a moral people to begin with, you can't expect to have a moral government. And it does, like Steve says, it does start with reason, logic, and moral people.
That's very interesting.
That's great points. Do you know what I mean? All of Paul's points are easy to answer there. I mean, briefly to answer, and it also touches upon Patrick's point. And Patrick's made a great point about morality. So what needs to happen in order to have a society that's free from war and is more able to live with less violence and more peaceful coexistence? It needs less government, preferably no government. Government will always enable violence in society. I mean, this is why I have a channel, the Telegram channel, the Occult Academy, is to prove through facts, logic, and reason how government is enabling violence in society and chaos and disorder in society, and how if eradicating it will enable more peaceful coexistence. I can't answer this in a very limited, a 5-minute conversation. I could certainly do it within half an hour, but what I will say to that is morality is the key to this, because I said earlier the root causal problems of all the problems we've got in society is a spiritual problem. It's a spiritual problem rooted in consciousness and expanded by ignorance. So if we've got, and I'm just going to define these points, and these are quite important ones. So the spiritual problem, spirituality can be measured in freedom. Are we a free society? No, we're not. We're slaves. We're slaves to a tyrannical bunch of evil Satanists who operate a death cult. So we're not a free society. Perception is a measure of information and awareness, and ignorance is also a measure of, or you could say, a lack of knowledge and a lack of information. So to remedy all of these points, well, you need more information and more knowledge. That will greatly expand upon our awareness and our perceptions. So if we don't realize that government are a death cult who operate using violence and tyranny, well, that means our perception is way below the standard it needs to be. And the spiritual problem, that can be improved upon by coming to a realization, that coming to a greater perception through information and knowledge that we are operating in low morality. So all of these things can be increased and improved simply by education. And now what I call for is something called a mental revolution. So when we come to a state of awareness that government is not necessary, and not only that, I mean, I'll be quite honest, I'm going to just mention a point that Alice Gorgeous made earlier. The powers that be in this world have collectively and collaborated on decimating the world's population by means of cognitive warfare and biological warfare. Both of these things are both war crimes and treason. War crimes and treason. So the people that we're arguing for and promoting are treasonous war criminals who have practically poisoned a huge percentage of the population. These people should be shot, tied to a stake and shot. The whole lot of them. Anybody advocating for them is seriously deranged. That means their perception is down in the gutter. If we can advocate for a bunch of imbeciles who have just decimated the world's population, there's frankly something wrong with our reasoning ability. These things need to be eradicated. And if we think that there's a tribe up the street who will start, robbing us blind because we've not got government to save us, then again, our perception is still in the gutter. So we need to take our perception out of the gutter and to understand what evil is, and we need to understand what morality is. Because, it might sound a little bit strong and disrespectful. Frankly, I don't even know why we're even arguing why we should have a government. These things are broken beyond compare. We need to raise the state of moral understanding in society to come to a very clear conclusion that these things are a death cult. We need to get rid of them, and then we need to start acting in peaceful cooperation with each other.
Can
I
we go
think-
down a... Sorry, carry on, Patrick.
I just
It's
wanted
okay,
to make one comment. I think it's probably because of how we define what government is. Because I would define a government as the power with the most ability to act, and usually it's a state which involves armed men, typically. And you advocate for everyone being armed, so in a way that's advocating for a government. I would say by my definition, but I guess that's the question.
I get
What's
your
the
point, but
definition
that's
of
not.
government?
Yeah.
But,
Well, I'll give you a definition of government. The word government means mind control, and the government mind control the population. That means they subvert and deceive the population in order to impart duress upon them. Duress is a fear-based violence. They use violence through the use of the military and the police. Both of these entities are violent because you can't ask somebody nicely to stop smoking weed, please, sir. And what happens if the person doesn't stop smoking cannabis on the street or growing cannabis? He gets violently abused, assaulted, arrested, or if he resists, he gets shot or some other form of violence upon him. So government operating violence, society have to be managed by mind control and duress in order to apply the will of their illegitimate powers.
Can I just come in here and sort of just... Sorry, I know
please.
loads of people like to speak, but I'm wondering, I look at them as not quite human. And when I say that, and I've said this loads of times, I think they're psychopaths. And psychopaths, leading authority on that, Dr. Hare, has come very close to admitting that they are a sub-breed of human. And as such, we should treat them like we treat crocodiles. They have as much right to live on this earth, but not with us, away from us, because they are predators. That's the way I look on it. And a simple scan of the frontal lobe will show whether they're a psychopath or not, because there's a difference between human and psycho. Now, Narrow Laning said, we all know government are controlled from above, so why are we even discussing? Those above are leading us to AI governments. Tech needs to go first. Now, that's a very interesting point. Now, who wants to know what's happening in the poll? It's exciting, isn't it? Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
With the poll. We've had 4 votes. Oh, bloody hell. That's overwhelming. And it's 25% yes, we need government. And
That's
75% we don't need government. So there we go. So the 4 votes. I mean, that is, so remember, friends, it's vote, vote, vote. So there we go. So
But
it
just
could
remember,
change.
though, just like the election, though, even if the vote shows that you've got 100% in favour of what you want, when it comes to the results, you must tell people it's actually the opposite. We won.
It's been rigged. Well, that's right. And we got our Aunt Sally. Where is she? Here she is. Aunt Sally, who has bribed me with her cakes. That's why she got at the beginning of the show. So I'm showing what government's like. She comes in with the cakes. Just saying,
Bribery.
Bribery, yes,
Driven.
that's right, yeah. Bleating good cakes are as well. Whoa, ho, ho. All full of the natural stuff, no crap. She says, crap free. Now, answer, said, found your new poll now, Eric, and voted. Excellent. That's what we like. So remember, vote, friends.
So ultimately, when we see this world that we're aiming for, I guess if we're going to be working under natural law, I guess we wouldn't need guns either, would we? Because I suppose in theory we should all be living peacefully. I know I've said this before. So do you see a world where ultimately, like it's, I don't know,
Yeah,
like
but-
Lord of the Rings, where we all live in little communities and we all just get on? Is that how we?
with good
Is that what
conduct.
Let me see.
Yeah.
No, that's
Well,
that's a
that's
fairy
the
tale.
morality. Morality.
Yeah, but guns don't kill people. Guns are harmless. It's the person. It's like a knife. A knife is
Well,
harmless.
it depends on how
It's
you
how
use
it's
it.
used. And the thing
Exactly.
is, I mean, you wouldn't sell a gun to a lunatic, and you wouldn't sell a gun to a child.
Right. You
But,
wouldn't give a 3-year-old a gun, a pistol, and say,
Precisely.
"Here you go, son. Have fun. Just don't harm anybody."
Yes.
And they can't reason. And that's another part. Like you do need reason, and some people have more strength or virtue than other people, and you want to encourage those people more in those roles of conducting
agree.
other people, because you have to look out for your brother, so to speak.
And if Keir Starmer comes in for a gun, you just say, look down that tube and press that trigger thing, all right? You see the bullet coming out. Oh, I don't think I do that. I think I'll do that. Sorry.
I would agree with Patrick's point, but then I would also say then we want people who are able to reason. Well, government are provably unable to reason. They've just poisoned the entire planet. They've just completely turned a certain country or city into a car park with no criticism or very little criticism. In fact, if we criticize the act of turning a certain place into a car park, I'm pretty sure you can guess which place we're talking about. That would face persecution from the authorities. So if I was to wave a certain flag in the UK of a certain Middle Eastern state, that's just been levelled into oblivion by acts of war crime and genocide, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about, I would be classed as, I think in the UK at this point in time, I would be classed as a domestic terrorist.
Or
So-
anti-Semolina.
Yeah.
Is the other one.
Well, that's
So-
the problem. There's a competing state. There's a competing government there. There's no two-state solution, as it's called. That other governing body isn't allowed to govern, and they're blown out of existence because you've got people with bigger weapons and more of them, and they're being funded by people who are being deceived. But ultimately, you do need that government to step up and challenge that other government that's the corrupt government run by a faction of people.
So
That's
I
where
would
we-
say to that, I mean, I think that's a great point, but I would say to that, just imagine if government didn't exist. Imagine if there was no government. Well, who's gonna be able to organise and pay for all of this? The munitions dropped on this certain country exceeds the munitions that was dropped in the whole of the Second World War. Now who's going to fund and operate all that machinery and fund it? If we didn't have a government, nobody would. It would stop. It wouldn't be possible to achieve those objectives by any gang up the street who were a little bit big and had foul intent for other people. They wouldn't be able to do the same level of damage that world governments do and have been doing for generations.
I guess what we need is a way to work together, even though we don't see eye to eye on everything, and a way to accomplish that in order to bring about the greater good, the real greater good, not some fake
Well,
greater good.
Let's look at it in a small way on this show. It's not so as to disagree with each other, but we're still great mates. And we're still. And by the way, should we have an update of the poll? People can't
Yeah.
find the poll. Here it comes. It's very exciting. It's 4 people are still voted. It's 25% yes, 75% no. We don't need a government. So there we go. And it's fockhamallradio.com, and you can go on there. It's on my Telegram channel. You can vote, And I'll leave it open all week. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
See if he gets to 5.
Yeah, we might get 5, yeah.
I think you don't get as many people because it's on the actual Fockham Hall Radio Telegram chat and not your channel where you
Oh,
post.
that's right. Yes, it's on the chat room because
Yeah.
I get muddled up with Telegram's a bit complicated. Like that.
Yeah, the group is different from a channel. The channel
Yeah.
is when you broadcast and there's no real chat going back and forth.
Yeah. So it's the group that you got to go to, the Fogham Hall group. So a lot of groupies there, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
It-
going down that road, I mean, I actually do believe that. I mean, for example, Rupert Lowe, I've just looked it up, hasn't had the arm bruise,
Jib
so
jab.
that's ticking in the right direction. That's going in the right direction. Now, Paul, you've been rather quiet recently. It's time, I mean, let's say Rupert Lowe is. I don't think he'll get in at the next election, or by some fluke he might. I don't know. I should think he'd be a bit like the Liberals used to be. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he's got any chance of getting anywhere? Anybody? Paul? Anybody?
I think he does. I'm an American. I'm looking from the
I
outside.
understand.
You got somebody who's a thorn in the side, and look at you said the Liberals, right? Well, the Liberals are in power right now, so the circumstances can change. They can change for the worse, and that's true, but they can also change for the better, and the only way to change for the better is if you act.
Yes, that's an interesting point. But I mean, when I say Liberals, I'm talking about the old Liberals, because we used to have the
Right.
Whigs and Tories.
Well,
And the Tories were the right wing and the Whigs were the left wing. And the last time the Liberals were in power, I think it was just after it was during the First World War, and that was it.
yeah, I
They
get
haven't
it.
been in power since.
We had that coalition thing with Cameron and whatever the Clegg. We had that, didn't we, briefly? But
That's right. Hang on. We got another person voted. Well, hey, we got 5 votes. Sorry to chime in, it's very exciting, this. We have a swingometer. 40% said, yes, we do need a government. 60%, no, we don't need a government. So there we go.
Okay.
Hey.
And I've got the address for everybody listening if they want to go there and vote. It's t.me/Fogham Hall Radio Chat. All one
Oh,
word.
thank you. Thanks, Patrick. That's very kind of you. Much appreciated. I better put that in the bleeding banner, haven't I? And Dallas Gorgeous said Stockholm Syndrome is rife.
Yeah.
Yes.
You begin to associate your views with your captor's views.
That's right. Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome. But no, so now, Paul, imagine Rupert Lowe. Now, do you think people say he would split the vote? I don't know. Do you think he could be, has any chance of getting into power? What's your view, Paul? You still
All there.
Cooey.
He went to
wakey.
top up his tea.
Yeah, he's topping up his tea, or might have gone for a wee. You don't know.
You never know.
No, but do you think?
So what's the question again?
Well, do you think he's got any chance of becoming I don't know about prime minister, but he could be. He could get into power. I just don't
From
know.
what little I've heard from him, and the first time I've ever heard him speak is just an hour ago before your show, when Gary didn't show up. Paul played a speech from Rupert Lowe, and I like what he said. And I mean, I don't agree with everything, but I think you'd be better off with him than any of the other candidates that I've seen, than a Farage or
fart ass, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
or Keir Starmer or any of these
Yeah.
other politicians, and like I said, it's the lesser of two evils. I think it was a good thing if you compare. So, for instance, in America, you had Hillary Clinton and Trump, or Biden and Trump, and yeah, obviously, to me, Trump was a better decision. But
Yeah, I agree.
at the same time, that doesn't mean that he's the guy and that he should even be there, for that matter, because you don't have any say over that. It's beyond your control. But as far as the lesser of two evils, you choose what you see as the lesser of two evils, and it usually would be a better decision than Biden being in there a second term. This, the guy that was all promoting the jib jab for everybody, whereas Trump was at least more reasonable in saying it should be up to you. Now, I'd rather have somebody like that in versus
You got
somebody who
point.
says, you got to do it. You got to get the jab or no job. So, yeah, like I said, I'm glad it went the way it did, but I'm not glad about the situation. The genocide continues on in Gaza, and the war in Ukraine is still waging on. It's like he's got a mandate,
right.
but he's gone against it.
By the way, Steve, can I just say, you've only sent that message to us. It's not gone on the main platform. You've got to actually open another window under Rumble. Turn the volume down, obviously. Go on, just open another Rumble studio. Come in.
So nobody can see that at all, other than
apart from us.
Yes, right. Okay, right. Okay.
Oh, you could go on to YouTube. Find us on YouTube.
Yeah,
remember to put the sound back down, because if you blank the sound out, because otherwise you're going to get feedback. You're sorry, mate. You're going to say,
right? Steve.
Yeah.
Say again.
Do you want me to copy and paste it into?
Oh, do you not mind? Yeah,
that's fine.
That's very kind of you.
See if it works.
Yeah.
Can I comment on what Patrick said there?
Certainly.
The lesser of two evils. I mean, I agree. There is a lesser of. You could say there's a lesser of two evils, and that's how the whole system of government works. I'm sure Patrick's aware of the donkey and elephant cult and the left-right paradigm, or order out of chaos. I mean, the reason government works is as I've said, the word itself means mind control, and the mind control works through something called polarizing dialectics, which can be also understood as order out of chaos. So the lesser of two evils essentially is the polarizing dialectic. It's this side's doing that, so the next choice of action or the next course of action is to go for, as you've just said, the lesser of two evils. They've been doing that since their inception. It's polarizing dialectics that get us chasing. No matter what happens, no matter what they do, they give us the choice between choosing one thing. Two wings of the same bird, two chicks of the same arse. The thing in the middle is the arsehole of government. We always choose government no matter. So we've got no freedom. We've got the freedom to choose one side of socialism between another side. We've got left or right leaning socialism. That's all we've got. Democracy is socialism, just a low yielding form of socialism. That's all we've got. So we've got freedom. We've got the freedom to become socialists, slaves under a socialist dictatorship. Period. No matter what they spice up their political branch by calling it Islamism, such as democracy. That's just a joke.
That's right. And by the way, at a build up, I like what Hachi said. He said, if Rupert is a real one, he will be found unalived. And now we've got some hotline news from the poll. Here it comes. We've now got 6 votes. Whoa, hey. 33% yes, 67% no. We don't need a government. So there we go.
We actually get to 10.
You're running a very democratic show, Eric, aren't you?
It is, isn't it? Yes. But I was going to say,
Steve's point about democracy, though, is spot on, because democracy basically is slow burn communism.
Yes.
I mean, if you look over the last sort of, well, we'll take England because we know it quite well. As soon as they got rid of the kings, we go to democracy. Because they didn't fully get rid of the kings over here. We've still got one, apparently. Sorry. Apparently.
Mr. Sausage Fingers. Mr. Sausage Fingers.
Yeah, so those kings are basically those guys that used to pick apples. There's a long line of it, right? And you only have to look at all the bun fights over here, like the Tudors and the War of the Roses and all this. Oh, my good grief. It's just been a scrap non-stop. So, I mean, there are people that pop up that want the power. They want it. They want it really bad, and they're prepared to do things that most normal people are not prepared to do, thankfully. Unfortunately, those of us that are not prepared to do those things end up, I guess, being bullied through violence and all these other intimidatory things. But yeah, democracy is just slow burn communism. That's what we're under now. You know, we've been under communism for a long time. It's a soft sort of Western version where you're given a few more freedoms, supposedly. You know, apparently we've got the freedom of speech, but there's certain naughty words that we can't say anymore. And stuff like that. By the way, I was just away for a bit because I had to go and make myself a pint of Earl Grey tea, and it's fantastic.
I told you.
I just thought you were...
Excellent. I told you.
I thought we was talking all about you, and yes, we you know. And by the way, Alice School just says it matters not who the front man is, it's not them who are really running things. Please, for God's sake, stop the naivety. It's dangerous.
I don't think we're naive. I don't think we're naive. I think we know that. You've just got to find some terms to describe it in, don't you? So there's so many sort of layers to it. It's where, what's that thing? For 1,000 people hacking at the branches, there's only one hacking at the roots. Where's the root? Where is it? I mean, I think we've dug deeper, conversations like this dig deeper into finding out where the root is. Let's suppose you find it. Now what? The challenge is what actions are to be taken. I mean, if we look at, say, a recovery process, suppose there's, let's call it a transition. I hate using that word. That's been buggered as well, isn't it? But if we're to go from this to something much closer to what we think we're envisioning, which needs to be clarified, I guess, as we go, there's going to be a period, isn't there? I'm assuming there is. I don't think it's just a flick of a switch instantaneously and it's all like that. I can't see how that would occur other than a miracle, for want of a better word. I'm completely open to that happening. If we've got one coming, I think that would be great. But would it not, this is just an open question, would it not be a case that during a transition period, the people that are leading it are the government? And so the challenge is, as you're taking people from this state, this condition, into the one that we envisage attaining, you've got a government. And so the great danger is that during that transition period, that government, that intermediary government, the great guys that start off good, they too begin to get corrupted. It's this point I've made a few times. I don't know if it's a point. We find. Let's suppose. I'm not saying he is, by the way. This is least worst options. That's the way I'm viewing it with some of the things that Mr. Lowe has said. Let's suppose that they really do turn out to be, whoa, this really is, we've got sliced bread here. This is absolutely brilliant. Is how can you protect any individual or group in that environment from becoming corrupted? Our track record as a species is poor. It's very poor on that front. And of course, there's a whole machinery, a culture of politics has built up in this country, obviously, over the last 300-400 years, which safeguards them from criticisms. They pass these things which they call laws, which are nothing of the sort. It seems that, I just think that on a local level and getting a spirit of good communication there is a good start. Whether you can actually affect the nation as a whole, I don't know. You bump into people of all sorts of strengths and weaknesses, don't you, through life? And there's probably been times where you've been weak and a bit divvy. I know I have. I'd like to think that I'm actually slightly improved over the version of me that existed when I was 18, although I was much happier when I was 18. And life was better, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know all these things to get pissed off about them. And I cut my cloth to suit. And it'll probably always be like that to some degree. But
that's right.
Yeah, the transition period would be a challenge. I don't have an answer to this. And maybe there are some answers or some sort of guidance on it. But in that transition period, strong people will come forward. Right now, irrespective of his personality or anything, Rupert Lowe has said some things that have not been said in this country for a long time, and they need to be said. That's a start. They're not things that we haven't said here, but we don't have as much clout as this guy at the moment today. So you say, well, look, maybe we here around the microphones, we could form something and get some power and bring about what we want to do. Who's to guarantee that any of us would make it out at the end, that we're strong enough as individuals?
Well, let's put it this way.
I'm just, I don't know. Yeah.
If Rupert Lowe says, first thing we're going to do is abolish usury, he will end up in a wooden overcoat or an arranged heart attack within about a couple of days. I can almost guarantee it.
I agree, but you know what? I agree with that. I think that's absolutely. I hope he doesn't. I don't want anybody dying, even the bad guys. I don't think it's good, right? Because I think there's lessons to be learned. You want them interviewed. You want them put. These big prisons. You want them to go in there. You want to make these live 24/7 documentaries that they stick on YouTube or whatever, and you use them as teachers how the criminal mind comes about, because this is a thing that's thousands of years old. These people have sort of been born into these circles and they've grown up naturally. You're never going to change their mind. Maybe if we knew a little bit more about how it worked, it might help us. I don't even know if that's true necessarily.
Well, that's right. But I was going to say,
it'd be a better use of it.
Yeah. It would be. Sorry, I hope you don't mind. I think I'm talking over, but Alice Gorgeous has come up with a good one. She said, "Politicians don't swear an oath to the people." That's right; they swear it to the crown. We need to stop engaging with them completely. You see, the thing is, they don't swear an oath to the people; it's to the crown. Not
Bit
to
like
us.
the police, then, because the police swear an oath to the crown, don't they? But they're still,
That's right.
they're
Yeah.
still, what's the term I'm looking for? Do over the general public. But I was on the previous one that Alice Gore just said. I agree with that. That we forget that the government is just the face. Obviously, they're just the puppets on that we know. But obviously, the people who are really working it are the people behind, like the Jesuits and all the other satanic people that are higher up the chain.
Let's face it. Supposing us as a group, we started a political party. Okay, as I said earlier, the Fockham Party, or whatever you want to call it. And we was getting.
Would we all be known as little fockers then?
Little fock? That's right. We'd all be little fockers. And we'd have things like
I'm not voting for those fockers. That's what they would be saying.
That's right.
It'd be terrible. Yeah.
The return.
Fockers.
That's right. The return of what do you call it? Pocket watches and things like that. But the thing is, before long, if we had any chance of getting into power, you'd have people knocking on their door from industry saying, we'd like to give you so many £1,000 or £1 million or however much it is. And you would have various agencies from around the world, one particular place from the Middle East, go on the door saying, yes, we'd like to help you, providing you help our lobby. And if you don't help our lobby, it'd be yes, okay, we'll help you. And I think that's probably, I don't know at all, but I've got a feeling that might be happening. Who knows? We just don't know what happens behind closed doors.
Well, that's how it works, and it reminds me of a story. My grandpa's uncles moved out to Montana, started a slaughterhouse, abattoir, and he had farmers bringing their cattle in, and basically what happened was Hormel, the people that make Spam, went to all those farmers and said, hey, if you go to the LaFon's abattoir, we're not going to do business with you, and we're the biggest slaughterhouse in town, so you're going to be put out of business. That's kind of the way it works with politically, like you're saying. Yeah. They'll go to your opponent next time and say, well, we're going to fund your opponent if you don't take our money.
That's right. And then when you take their money, it's, you've got to do what we tell you. And this is
money.
why,
Did you just mention money, Eric?
Yes, money. The lira, the folding stuff.
This seems to be a common ingredient in every aspect of what we're talking about on a pragmatic level. I know this. I'm aware that how naive and silly this might sound, but the cryptocurrency thing may be a tremendous benefit to us if it's applied in the right way. I'm not talking about central bank digital currencies. I'm still in part of a sort of learning curve here. We actually, just to let you know, we're supposed to do a show tonight with Gary, and he never turned up.
What happened to that dude?
He never turned. I don't know. He's not even sent me. Has he sent me a message yet? You're very bad, Gary.
I was looking forward to it.
Yeah. You were. I was. I've got to learn stuff. I sent him a message. I said, "Okay, you owe me one. You owe me one BSV, which is a Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. This BSV thing." But some of the points that he's made in the communications there, these are just strings to our bow. I don't think there's necessarily one golden solution. There may be, I'm a Gordian knot guy. I do think we don't want to unpick it all. Just pick up that sword and hack it through, right? Although I don't know quite where we're supposed to swing the sword, and I don't know where the knot is exactly. But the idea of we need to come at it from every single point if we can. There's the royal we again. Anybody that's sort of pounding away in this direction is doing a good thing, really doing a good thing. And the thing with the original design of the cryptocurrency is, slowly the crypto coin penny is beginning to drop with me. The actual one, not the one that you're aware of, the one that's huge in value and then dropped in value and all this kind of stuff, that's just a speculator's dung hole, like everything else with all of these things, right? The original one holds the potential to undermine their centralized control of money. It does, technically. And you could say, but it's reliant on the internet. Yeah, well, the whole world is now. So there's no point thinking that that's going to fall over. It won't, because there are literally hundreds of thousands of firms keeping that alive and will continue to do so. They've got vested self-interest. So it's got this kind of natural defense mechanism around it, apart from which their control system is reliant upon it as well. That's why they're abusing it. You know, they want it to extend their terms of abuse. But I think monetary independence, let's call it that, would be huge. You wouldn't have to concern yourself necessarily. This is just I'm sort of envisioning this. It's not necessarily true, but you wouldn't necessarily, there's a possibility you wouldn't have to concern yourself so much with the affairs of this state, because its power in your life literally would be diminishing with every day. It would not be able to dictate things. And if it turned around and wants to bribe people, I mean, there's one of the things it can do. They're just printing all the money. So all of these foul, nefarious activities are funded. These people don't go off and kill people for nothing, do they? They don't poison them for nothing. And they've all got something on one another. So it's another aspect of it. So I'm not, just to be really clear, I'm not saying that Rupert Lowe's going to save the country. Never said that at all, right? Just that he said some things that have not been said for a long time and needed to be said. These already, the amount of backlash that he's got is just completely atypical of British politics, probably all politics. Oh, he's splitting the right. We're never going to get this and all this, that and the other. They still needed to be said. You know, Nigel Farage is never going to say these things. What's the point?
Yeah.
And getting the words out into space and going into people's ears is a key part of it. In fact, it's the key part, isn't it?
I agree.
And, you know, here we are. Yeah, and we're putting ideas out here. And as a subtext, we are seeking power to have these ideas come around. We actually want to be, on a subconscious level, we want to govern because we think our idea is better. And that's not true. Unless it's aligned with duty to the laws of God.
Right. Now, Warhead Rex, I assume Warhead Rex is American, said Mo Steinman was the New York gangster that controlled meatpacking in the early 70s. Do you know anything about that, Patrick?
No, unfortunately.
Because I know the mob run the printing works, don't they? Because Nexus tried to get their toe into America and found it very difficult because it's run by the mob. You know. So
Don't the Matthew also run the construction side of things as well? Most of the construction in America is.
Well, I'll just say this: my brother was a football player. He still is, and he was on the Kansas City Chiefs, and the grandfather of the current owner of the Chiefs, he had the largest cattle farm in America, in the United States. And yeah, I'd agree that's the mob, at that level.
Yeah.
So.
It's quite horrendous, isn't it? Really, what they get up to. But yes, that's quite interesting. Now, as I say, I think Nigel Farage is a very dangerous person because what he says and what he does are two different things. This is with all the politicians. But I think we're living in interesting times. Now, how long do you reckon the Keir Starmer's going to last? Because according to Galloway, he will be gone by the end of the month. I don't know.
You think Galloway is right on that? I don't think so. I think they'll keep him in. He's too useful to him. But then again, look at what happened to Sunak. He called an election.
Well, look,
and then basically fell on his sword.
Yeah.
If he was, legit and conservative or whatever you call him, the Tory.
Yeah. But Galloway, I was quite surprised. I was listening to him today whilst I was doing the washing up, and he says he's talking about conspiracies. Now, a couple of years ago, he said, that's not, we're not talking about that. But he was saying, we know the towers weren't brought down by aeroplanes, and we know that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't shoot JFK. And I was thinking, huh? But
yeah, I'm gonna listen to that after this. It's on Holy Land Radio. I play Galloway's show just to see what he's saying because he's got some good things to say. Not that he's the man to follow. But.
Well, I don't like him really. I think he just changed with the wind. But the jolly man says Sweden, the war bankers. I thought it was Switzerland.
Sweden, the war bankers. Sweden
Yeah, I
was
thought-
the first central bank, the Bank of Sweden.
Really?
It was started by the Rothschilds. That was their first bank. Central bank was the Bank of Sweden. in
The
Stockholm.
Rothschilds. Oh,
Yes,
they start
yes.
banks. Oh, I thought they were so philanthropy. I thought they were so marvelous. Back in the pea. Yeah,
And they also run governments as well.
yeah. Who reserved the war profits lost all the monies as it's stored in Fort Knox. Well, Dave Starbuck said that Fort Knox is as empty as Mother Hubbard's cupboard. But as the moon telemetry data has disappeared, so has the gold. And that's another thing. On Paul's show last Thursday, he was talking about the witchcraft acts, where over a period of about 300 years, women were killed because they thought they were witches. And guess where their estate went? To the
To
government.
the patricians. Yeah,
That's right.
To the aristocrats.
That's right. Yes. And apparently there's one village where there's only one woman left. Now, you think, come forward a bit, in the First and Second World Wars and other wars since, lots of men lost their lives who had property but had no heirs for that property to go to. And guess who got it? The Duchy of Cornwall. And I think it's the Duchy of Lancashire as well. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, if someone dies in Cornwall and they've got no family, that property goes to Fat Fingers. So the king, because he owns Cornwall.
Well, and if you were Christian, though, he would put that back and distribute it amongst the poor and the peasants.
Prince Charles, Christian? No, I think he's Muslim, isn't he?
You know, it's wishful thinking, but
I thought
possibly.
he's a Muslim. He seems to be.
I thought he was a meanie beanie, but that's neither here nor there. Who knows what he is?
I thought he was a lizard.
Actually says Jack Straw used to wear a black fedora, as does Georgie Boy. Well, I'll wear a brown fedora sometimes, but it's only sometimes. Yes. The trouble is, when walking down the road, people
You're a gangster, Eric. Eric, you're a gangster.
You got, you know
I've
this
got
smart
stripe.
car. You know this
Yes.
smart car you drive. Does it have
Yes.
sort of a platform around the outside of it, and you carry a Tommy gun with it?
And you got to have one of those big pinstripe suits with the shoulder pads on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running boards on a smart car. There's a
Now, there's a thought, isn't it?
The Walter
Yes.
Babby mob.
No, actually,
Yeah.
I've got some false goofy teeth to put on and a big pointed hat when I'm in my smart car. It's a red one, so I'm driving along.
You almost said fart car there. I heard
Yes,
it.
it's a fart car. It's
Are they as bad to turn as they make out? Is the turning circle really that bad?
the turning circle, believe it or not, the turning circle is about the same as my Carina. And my Carina's a 4-door fuel injected 2-litre. Yeah, it's not a very good turning circle at all.
You'd think that they'd have crab steering and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
I got crap steering. I know about crab
Crap
steering.
steering,
They've got crap steering, yeah. But it hasn't got a steering lock on it. And it's very basic, the smart car. But it's
so
really
it's
a
not as smart
motorbike.
as it could be.
Well, it's really basically it's a motorbike with 4 wheels and a small car body on it. And it's for local, really. And do anything over 20 miles, you really feel it, you know. But that's all I got it for local business, you know, and it's perfect for that. Now, what's this?
Is it tax
Six Blade?
free?
No, it's 35 quid. It's going up apparently. But the biggest and most dangerous, and it's ULEZ compatible. So whoever ULEZ is, he's compatible with it. The biggest and most dangerous gang on earth are the Gover scum. They employ economic terrorists, police and military to enforce their thuggery. Did you see that on Telegram today? Anybody? Where it shows you a little tiny dog, and there's a big horse, and the rain is coming from the horse, and the little tiny dog is leading the horse along. So I said, the dog
Oh, yes.
is government, and the
Yeah.
horse is us.
Yeah.
And it sums up.
Brilliant.
So,
That was
does anybody
brilliant
want to?
one.
Shall we have a look at the poll? See where we're going. Let's have a look.
It's
The poll
same.
is 6 votes still. Yeah.
I got my eye on it.
Yeah, 33% yes, 67% no. So there we go. So it's very exciting. 6 votes. You know, that's quite a lot of people. Come on, vote.
Well, someone was mentioning that Rupert Lowe will end up, assassinated or something, and that could happen.
Heart attack,
I think.
A heart
Well, like for instance, here we had Charlie Kirk. He was assassinated in broad daylight, and he had a chance to run for president this next election, and he could have won. And I probably would have voted for him the way he was going
Really?
toward the end. I'd seen weeks prior to it, lots of exchanges between him and Candace Owens, and he was turning. So I think that was dangerous to them. I mean, it's very dangerous for them because they lose the narrative and the control, the political control. Because if you had somebody like that in the highest public office in the land, you would. That's a dangerous force for the powers that be. That shouldn't be. To have that as a challenge to their corruption.
They wouldn't go. Yes, but what I was going to say is about the David James Award. Sorry, carry on, mate. I mentioned the David James Award, but you first. Come on.
Yeah,
you sure?
No,
very quickly.
I'll after you.
The band. That's very kind. Thank you. The David James Award or Memorial Award. You won it last year, Steve.
Hey.
And it was Monica Schaefer and her brother won it the year before. And the contenders this year are, and there's going to be a poll put up on Telegram. We might get 7 votes on this with Father Maudsley. And it's for people that you may not agree with them, you might disagree with them, but people that stood up against the establishment. Okay? So again, you don't have to agree with these people. We might do. So it's Father Maudsley talking about something historically that happened or didn't happen or whatever about 80 years ago. Larkin Rose, E. Michael Jones, Dr. Meyerhill. Now Candace Owens, don't know. Ben Emlyn Jones and Richard D. Hall. We forgot him. He stood up against the establishment. And a person I really haven't the foggiest idea who this person is. Veritas Vinicit. So I'm going to check them out. I don't know who they are, but someone suggested that person. So I don't know if it's male or female. So that's...
I wonder if Paul would put forward anybody to put on that list.
Yeah.
Who, me?
Paul.
You.
Yeah.
If I give it a bit, when's the vote? What date is it? When have you got to have entrance in by?
No. You'd be voted on my website, which I'm altering at the moment, and Telegram. So it's for you who comes first. So
there's that Irish fella, isn't there, who's just gone back to prison again because he would not.
He
would not address people by the names that they wanted to. He absolutely refused to do that. He's been in twice. They're really having a go at him. Yeah,
Irish bloke who pronouns.
He's a teacher. Irish teacher, I think. I can't remember his name.
They've got it the worst in Ireland. For that kind of stuff and their retribution. Against people.
This is a relatively recent thing as well. Ireland was 10 years ago, but they've just decided to turbocharge what they've been doing here to England. So anyway, because it's going on everywhere, lots of people from all these nations are all sharing notes and going, hey, it's going on here too. Yeah. So,
it's the pronouns man, isn't it? He won't address someone as male or female. Bloody good for him. That's right.
He teaches children.
Chris, do you not think also... Who's the Canadian one we have on sometimes?
Monica.
She's won it.
Yeah.
But she won it the year before last. She's already won it.
Because it's her brother who's in prison in
That's right.
Germany.
Both of them won it.
There? Should he be on there?
But he's won it. They won it the year before
yeah.
last.
Can't win it
And
twice.
Steve won it
Paul.
last year. Can't win it twice. So we give other people a chance.
Can't win it twice.
So,
That's out of order.
But the thing is, we haven't got some. It's only a verbal thing. That's the thing. I was wondering what it could be. Something like must have something like the Wonder Pencil. Now, people giving these beautiful trophies out. It's got a Wonder Pencil. Yes.
At least he can do something with it, though.
Yeah,
It's the pencil. It's the pencil of peace. That's what it is.
it's a piece
The
of pencil.
Peace Pencil
yeah.
Prize. Peace
I'll break
Pencil
it
Prize.
off.
Or
I was almost killed for my political views, and all I got was this Wonder Pencil.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve? Steve, you didn't get a Wonder Pencil, did you? No, you got. Oh,
No, but if you want a suitable prize, I think a suitable prize would be a long length of rope, and that can be used for any member of politics, in any nation, all of them, all
What's
the
that?
prime ministers, a
long
long
length
length of rope. Yeah,
Rope.
You can tie a very particular knot, and you can dangle it under Westminster Bridge.
I said you have to supply your own
That's a good
lamppost
idea.
as well.
Yes. But I tell you,
So
this
this is the real question. Why aren't we talking about which one of these politicians would get the rope first? I don't understand why we're not at that level of conversation yet.
We were talking about that meme of the horse and the dog leading the horse. Well, that horse could just start galloping and just think of what happens to the dog.
Oh, hang on,
Yeah.
Enoch,
Yeah.
I think Aunt
Nooses.
Sally's got it. Is it Enoch Burke? I'll just look up. Is that
Wouldn't
the
it be a
one?
waste of rope though? Because I mean,
that's
rope's
it.
useful,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well done, Aunt Sally. I think that is the guy. Yeah.
Thanks, Aunt Sally.
The rope, you wouldn't have to replenish the rope or clean it afterwards. You would with a gun. A gun, you'd need quite a lot of the little lead hornets to go in it, which will cost money. But a rope is very cheap. And I would think that would be a very cost-effective way of dealing with government.
What about a bungee rope? So what'll happen? You could hang them over a sewage farm, and they sort of go boing, 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 and you could actually have bets on how long they bounce for, just to make it more entertaining, And
I suppose David Blunkett would be a bit of a challenge, though, wouldn't he? Because you'd have to stick the Labrador on it first.
Well,
But
do you know
the class is cheating.
I'm only mentioning the rope, and I'm sure you understand where I'm getting at here. Simply because there's a lot of people, or some people in chat, are obviously concerned about the rule of law. So when I say the rule of law, I'm talking about maritime law, the phony inauthentic laws that man has invented to profit from other people, the slaves. So the ruling class have invented a law that we as slaves have to abide by in order to help them profit. So anyway, as people are still concerned about that and they're still wanting that, they still want these inauthentic laws, what I would say is the law regarding treason carries the death penalty. So
Correct.
Why are we not talking about the death penalty for certain members of the establishment who are all treasonous? Why are we skirting around that issue and then talking about which leader we should put in the place of the ones who have committed
excellent
treason?
point. But
Are we all
Blair.
are we all insane?
But I think Patrick's going to say what I'm about to say. Blair changed the act to life imprisonment in 1997, but it's
But
null
that's a
and void.
treasonous act, Eric.
But
so
that's- yeah,
therefore,
but-
he's first. He's
Yeah, but
first
it's null
on
and
the
void.
platform.
But you can't change it. It's null and void. And by the
course
way,
you can.
Stephen Truthseeker said Ben Evelyn
when
Jones.
Steve was using the word, when you were just talking about we, Steve, it's a really important. I mean, I guess the reason why. I mean, we are talking about it here, aren't we, right now? But we don't have much reach today. Maybe we've got more than we had last week. I don't know. I guess if you look at it from a habit point of view, always a dreadful thing, but it's true. People have come to wait for a spokesperson within the political field to step up and get that going, and none of them do, which indicates to you that they're all effectively controlled by it. Now, it
They're
doesn't mean
afraid
that
of
they're
suffering.
necessarily even all bad. You could say that they've been corrupted, possibly even against their own will, because they fear for their own lives. Understandable? It's just understandable. I mean, why would we expect acts of tremendous bravery from people who've never shown it? It would be foolish to do so. So I think this is what, it appears that our typical response has been to form groups which become political parties to get a voice, and in the process of building it up, that very new voice, by the time it gets to the end, has been watered down and doesn't. It's just like with political parties, Unfortunately, this seems to happen a lot, but there's got to be an exception to the rule.
And I'd like to
hopefully in our lifetime we'll see it.
There's the prophecy of the book of Isaiah in the Bible, where he basically said that when weak men exist in government and ruling, they'll be replaced by women and children as punishment. And that's what's happening, I think. We've
definitely got
whether you
that
like
here.
it or not. That's what occurs.
But by the way, very quickly, Stephen Trusick said Ben Emlyn Jones votes for Boris Johnson and supports Trump. Wake up! No, he's actually said he made a mistake, and he admitted that he made an error. So.
Yeah, because how many of them are coming to his defense?
That's right. So I'll defend him on that, and that's why he's on the list, because he did say he made a big mistake at that time. So we can't blame people for making mistakes. So there we are. So
Can't we?
mention that on the show.
Oh, I like doing that.
I was a mistake.
You just can't punish them.
Would you hear about
Can't we just
Milton?
pick on people for no good reason whatsoever and just be obnoxious? That's great fun.
Well, the postman swerved to avoid a child and fell out of bed. Sorry, terrible one that one is. And now Alice Gorgeous has said, Steve, does the death penalty go against natural law or balance due to saving humanity? Now that's an interesting one.
So if there is a group of people, and let's just say the government, who are engaged upon heinous crimes, crimes against humanity, which involves death and injury and harm to other people, then they are, I'm sorry, but they have, through the natural laws of the universe, the self-defense principle and the non-aggression principle, well, I'm afraid they've invoked the self-defense principle to its fullest extent. They have acted with impunity. Put it this way, I would not defend them in the slightest at all. And if when the majority of society actually start to grow in their perceptions, do you remember I said earlier, it's about the spiritual problems rooted in consciousness. Consciousness is about perceptions. When people come to a perception that they are slaves and that they've been tyrannically attacked by a death cult, by having their minds washed and brainwashed in order to subvert their understanding, their conscious reasoning, when they finally come to that awakening, which is what the truth movement, who are still not fully there yet, when they come to that understanding, they will invoke the self-defense principle. And I'm afraid, I think we need to be quite familiar with the Second Amendment that they have in America. That is all about, it's not about possession of guns, it's about taking responsibility against a tyrannical government who have overreached their jurisdiction, which is what all governments in the world, certainly Western governments, have done now. They are war criminals, treasonous, and they've broken the Nuremberg Code, they've broken the Geneva Convention, they have broken and violated natural law to its fullest extent. These people need to be acted upon without prejudice in the most. And if it comes to a brutal manner, then I'm afraid I would fully endorse and justify that.
Well, how will there be? Sorry, but how will there be a trial for these people? Because not all of them are going to be guilty, I would imagine.
Well, I would say if any of them have got any conscience and moral sensibility whatsoever, they will resign immediately. I would say that the crime is too large and complicated to actually come to criminal courts. I think it will be mob rule that will that will dictate the outcome to this situation. I don't think there will be trial. There won't be a trial possible simply because it would take 1,000 years. So I would say if anyone's in politics, and in fact I would say if anyone's in politics, the armed forces, and the pharmaceutical industries and the police, I would say resign at the earliest opportunity, i.e. tomorrow. Resign tomorrow, and I think your life will be spared. Because quite honestly, I don't think anyone still standing for the heinous acts that are still being conducted deserve any fair treatment whatsoever.
The problem being is we had the whole COVID lockdowns and no one did anything. So in essence, you may be right, but the way things exist, that's not going to happen.
People are straight. Oh, by the way, we've had another vote coming. Whoa, here it comes. Are you at the edge of your seat? Wait for it. Here it comes. 29% say yes, we need a government. 71% said no, we don't need.
Get in.
And that's
bloody
France,
anarchists. They're everywhere.
seven votes. So it's really hotting up, isn't it? We're here, you know.
Well, can I elaborate on a point that Paul's made there? Because Paul mentioned anarchy. So I consider myself to be an anarchist simply because in the truest sense of the word, an anarchist, the word anarchy from the Greek, it means no rulers. So if you don't have rulers, then you have no slaves. So if people want to be slaves, then crack on with your government religious death cult. But personally, I find being a slave to a death cult who have basically mind controlled an entire population and then poisoned them to be quite immoral. So, I mean, some people are concerned that gangs up the top of the street might take control. Well, the gangs up the top of the street probably won't poison or advocate for poisoning the entire population of the whole human race. Then they probably wouldn't drop bombs on a certain country in the Middle East. They probably wouldn't procure weapons of mass destruction, and they probably wouldn't mind control the entire nation in order to thieve from them with an illusion called tax, claiming it's for the greater good, when really all it is for the profit margins of the banking cartel. So I don't think a gang up the top of the street would ever be that well coordinated or that evil-minded. However, this is the reality of the situation. This is where we're at. Very few people advocate for anarchy, which means no masters. I advocate for anarchy because I don't want my fellow brethren to be slaves. So I don't know what.
Interesting. Now,
why it's such a dirty word.
Aunt Sally said, I don't think you will see a pitchfork mob until there is a terrible food shortage. I reckon it will be one of the strongest groups in the country, and that ain't us, fighting age men. And DJ B2 said, I think it's quite a good idea here, DJ. A government's only function should be managing the sewer system, and that's about all. They couldn't even. If they managed the sewer system, there would be a shortage of turds.
Well, I think basically turd management would be out the window, and you'd have them in places where you don't want them. This is the problem.
Yes.
By the way, although this has got nothing to do, well, it's sort of just because you've just hijacked my mind with turds. Is human sewage? Does it make for good fertilizer on the land?
Yes.
I know everybody just groaned.
They use
as long as you leave it as long as you leave it for about a year. You don't put it on fresh.
It's like
right, that's it.
manure.
That's it. It's garden for me from now on.
Yeah.
You go.
I was spying to you as well, though.
The brightest flowers grow near the shit house, so just remember that's how it works.
That's right.
I can bag mine up if you want, Paul. I'll send them to you.
Well, you
Deliver
think
it through
about it,
letterbox.
surely we could make the land so fertile. Okay, so it's going to smell a bit for a while. I mean, so what? I mean, maybe there's the Fockham anti-pong nose peg or something could come out for a bit. But within a couple of years, we'd have the richest land, and we pooed our way back to food health. There's got to be something.
Well, they do it. They
Everybody
make
can
money
do
off
that,
of it.
can't they? How do you contribute? Well, I got to take a dump on that farmer's field. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm making the
That's
land
what they
richer,
do.
literally.
No,
Yeah.
these big municipalities, they make money off of sewage like that, and they use it for farmers' fields. They're
Well,
already
they use
doing
it
it.
anyway.
Even making money out of our shit.
Yes, sir.
God, it does it.
Actually, I've got into this quite deeply because I'm thinking of building an extension and having what is called a mole toilet. And what that is,
Yeah.
you have a crap and then you put sawdust or cat litter down
Yep.
like that.
Yeah,
and
sawdust
what you
in a
do,
bucket.
you put it into empty into a compost. And apparently, it doesn't smell. And you wait it for a year, and then that will come out as fantastic fertilizer.
Yeah,
And
we'll
that-
just
that-
get an
you know.
outhouse
Or if you,
like they
or
did
if you've
back
got a
in the
neighbour
day.
that you don't particularly like, you can put the tube over their fence and dump it on their
So,
patio.
Eric, instead of digging our way to victory, you're saying that we dump our way to victory.
We'll dump
Is
our
that- is
day.
that what it's-
We'll shit our way to victory. You know, shit this for victory.
You might think that England is a shithole. Well, it is. But that's why the flowers are so bright and great, and all our
Well-
veggies are really good. Oh, come on! There's got to be something in this. It'd be great.
That's
Our
right.
slogan,
I-
our slogan
Don't you
is,
think it would put all the local police force off and everything if everybody started doing it? Honestly, it may
Yeah.
be that the solution is our rear end all along. We just never
Yes.
figured it out. Let's
Have
take
you-
control of sewage. Let's get it back under our control.
Well, Steve did say that the government is an asshole. You know.
Yes.
So we do need an asshole, whether we like it or not. It's the
British
you know.
bottoms make the country healthy again.
That's right. That's right. Instead of our Spartacus, we could have a film called Farticus. But have you seen that
little
bloke in
boys-
America?
Yeah.
Walks around with white trousers on, with his very big brain stain at the back, and he has this stuff that he squirts, and he's got a automatic farting machine. So he's walking along in a supermarket, sprays this stuff secretly, then goes. People go, bloody hell! There's something cried up his backside and died. And well, it amuses me, but I've got a childish mindset like that, you know. But there we go.
You remember those? You remember those British Pathé newsreels?
Yes.
You know, and it sure takes a lot to get little Tommy Atkins into the water. Well, I could just see one of those about the whole of Britain starting to, you know, fertilise their own gardens with their own bottoms. I think that'd be great. That'd be
Yes.
really good. It'd be a sort of a revolution that nobody was ever considering at all. I don't know how much appeal it's got broad-based wise. It's going to be a bit tricky. In the
Well, I think
in the
people are
cities,
too
of
used
course,
to
it wouldn't
indoor-
work at all, would it?
No.
Yeah, indoor plumbing is too nice to get rid of. I mean, you'd
Yes.
have to be able to do something of that convenience.
That's right. And did you know that the Irish invented the lavatory seat, toilet seat? Do you know that? It's invented in Ireland.
They didn't invent the hole until
No,
Someone
the
else came
the English actually put the hole in it. Yes.
Yeah.
So, oh yes, it's a nice. We got a nice toilet seat here.
That's simply not true, but it's very funny. Well, yeah, couldn't you have something at the end of your sewage pipe that collected all your own, and then I don't.
Yeah,
No,
people
I'm getting
do that.
carried away. Yeah,
that's
it'd
a lot of
reinvigorate
it,
the
though.
plumbing industry. Oh yeah, we've got to put cesspits into everybody's houses now because they're all using their sewage to fertilise the ground. Yeah.
Well, actually,
So would we have a
actually,
list? So would it be called? You know, like every company has like terms and conditions. Would ours be turds and conditions?
They would be if you were in charge of the paperwork, Paul. I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
well, Matilda says the NHS asked to send a request to test her poo. Well, you could go there with a bleeding great bucket loads, couldn't you? Say, yeah, I'll pour it through your letterbox. You know, test this.
send them a wooden stool and say that there's my stool sample.
Yes, but
And
Yeah.
Aunt Sally's made a great point. Do you mind if I
certainly,
pick up on that?
where is it?
Oh, it's a little way back, but she said the point is we're not able to enforce the law. They have the police and the armed forces to stop us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're talking about slavery.
I mean,
It's because all men are slaves to fear. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
There it
so
is.
I agree
But the point
with
is
Aunt
we-
Sally.
They have the police. Yes.
Have you got it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it.
So,
What about
I
peace
mean,
officers? Sorry, carry on,
Yeah,
Steve.
so what I would say is I agree with Aunt Sally. Yes, they've got the police and the military to stop us. So this is where we need to get back to basics rather with things like morality. So if all men are created equal, so that's a maxim in law, in nature, a principle. So the word principle means first things. So if we understand things from the causal level and first principles, if all men are created equal, why is there such an entity known as the police or the military? So bearing in mind the police and military are economic terrorists because they employ violence in order to extort, whether it's to extort money or an arrest or a violent encounter that they always initiate, that they generally initiate in order to engage their rule of enforcement known as man's law, which is, we've discovered, illegitimate. It doesn't run in partnership with natural law, which is the laws of the universe. So if they operate illegitimately, why are we even why are we still funding and enabling these groups of economic terrorists? Why do we have the police and the military? I'll tell you why. Because we're still under mind control and we believe this entity has to exist. Their rule of law can only be enforced. It can't be we can't naturally abide by illegitimate laws. They have to be enforced. If we acted with morality under natural law as anarchists, as non-slaves, as free people, there would be no need for a rule of law. Why? Because we'd be acting upon conscience and understanding morality by understanding right from wrong. So there would be no need to enforce laws. It would just equal itself out. It wouldn't be necessary. But we also have to realize that we are still paying for this enforcement of ourselves. We are paying for our own enforcement and slavery through tax. This is why I don't pay a penny of tax. Anyone who pays a penny of tax, and no disrespect, because I've been there myself and I understand it. I understand the duress and the fear. We are immoral. Paying a penny of tax makes us immoral human beings because we are basically paying for in agreement and advocating for our own enslavement and the enslavement and the violent enslavement of other people. That makes us, the human race, immoral. That's why I don't pay tax. That's why I don't pay road tax. I don't pay council tax. I will not pay a penny to the government as long as I live. If everyone else wants to do that, that's their karma, not mine. But the collective consequence of our collective actions ensure that we invoke the law of freedom, which entails as morality declines, freedom declines. This is why the world's in a shit state, because we collectively turn it into a shithole because we don't understand and abide by the laws of morality. And that's why I advocate for natural law and anarchy, because anything else just means that we're going to be violently enslaved for the rest of our lives and things will only escalate.
Now, Pink Planet... Sorry, carry on.
Well, I was going to say, I suppose we still all pay tax one way or another, even if it's just buying food, or if you go down the shop and buy a book, or if you fuel your car, there's still tax in there, whether you like it or not. I suppose it's some things that you can't avoid.
There's some things you can't avoid, but there's some things you can. So I don't pay council tax. I don't pay road tax. I can avoid doing that. I can't avoid it without consequence. But I stand and advocate for natural law above the inauthentic and immoral laws of man. I put God's laws, the natural laws of creation, before the inauthentic, evil laws of man. So...
Do you? I guess you get the fellas knocking on the door, and I mean, because the bailiffs have got no, they've got no authority to come in as such. And as for the police, I mean, have you been stopped by the police at all? In the car, or do you just they haven't stopped?
Yeah,
you?
I've been arrested 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're a corrupt bunch of criminal gangsters. You've got to. This is what we've got to realize: the police are not there to help anybody other than to enforce illegitimate laws. They do.
Yeah.
This is known as. There is a word for it, but it's a bit like philanthropists who will be seemingly they'll do charitable deeds. You know, people like Bill Gates, a philanthropist. He'll do some charitable deeds, but he's still, an evil piece of shit who will he won't think twice about ending, bringing an end to.
That's right, humanity.
Yeah.
Well, look at John D. Rockefeller. Sorry, he did the same, philanthropy. Sorry to interrupt there, Steve.
No, not at all.
But Pink Planet says some people fight in the street with machetes and swords in London. Who's going to deal with them? Well, we'd have people that would deal with them. There's always someone that's going to deal with them.
So,
2-minute warning, Eric.
Oh, okay. We're gonna. The show ends on Food for Thought Radio in 2 minutes. So, what do I do? Do I end going live on here, Paul? Don't know what to do, mate. I'm sorry.
Don't you know what to do? You don't do anything. Well, basically, it's just going to end on Food for Thought Radio at 2 minutes to 11.
Okay.
And the play out music and stuff is going to start in 1.5 minutes. So there you go.
Okay, so we're going into the
then you're off air.
Music. Then I'm off air on Food for Thought Radio, but we'll still be carrying on Rumble and YouTube. But now, should we wait until let's wait until the music comes along. It says, Aunt Sally says, I know there is a way to avoid road tax, but you have to be an expert on the law, and even then the police are ignorant and will start arresting you. They let you go later. That's correct, yes.
Of course, the theory is that you should be able to drive your car without any registration plates on it.
I agree.
And that's the way out of it. Because the registration plates, going back to your wanting a Ferrari, if you got a registration plate on it, it's not your car. You never own the car. You're just a keeper.
That's right.
And the same that you
said. So now you can start to. Now you can see why you're all slaves. We're all slaves, but we're just not chattel slaves. We're economic slaves under duress. So they own our cars, they own our houses, they own our lives, they own the way we live.
I agree. But
and sadly, some people are still wanting more of it. And no disrespect, why do we want more of slavery? Why do we not want to advocate for freedom? Are we not?
Okay, sorry, I got to cut in there. We say good night to Food for Thought Radio. I'm sorry, mate.
Hey.
So thank you very much for joining us, and good night, Food for Thought Radio. It's good.
Book club. Wake up your mind. Move. Fill up your day. Oink, oink. Smart little bites that brighten your way. You're listening to Food for Thought Radio. Here at FFTradio.com. Club Moo, oink.
And good night. And I think it's gone there. We're still on. We're still live on Rumble. And you was going to promote something there, Steve. What was that? You got a book by Larkin Rose, I see.
Larkin Rose, yeah. So pretty much everything I've talked about tonight, this guy will tell you in even more detail as to why. In fact, as he says by the title of his book, the belief in government is a religious belief, and it's known as the greatest superstition. Everyone thinks that we need them in order to prosper and to be able to manage ourselves. The most dangerous superstition.
That's right. Also, answer, he said, I know someone who made a stand, learned the law, refused to pay road tax and parking fines, and still lost his car. Yes, that was.
But if
they
took
towed
the
it away
registration
forever.
plates off the car, it's then not under DVLA, is it? So it's actually then your vehicle, right? So
right.
at that point, that would be classed as theft. So they wouldn't be able to take it. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, this happened to what was that chap now? There's a film with him, and the police stopped him, but the police were so ignorant that they impounded his car and left him on the side of the motorway, you know, or the A road where he was, you know. Oh no, I think they arrested him. They took him to prison, to the local not prison, to the local cop shop, you know. But anyway, gentlemen, I'd like to thank everybody for a fantastic show, an incredible microphone discipline. And I think we've proved tonight that we can have a gentlemanly discussion like they did in the Victorian and Edwardian days. And everybody, I think, has learnt something from this. So I'd like to thank, Paul, Patrick, Anorak, and Steve. Thank you. Thanks a million for proving that we can do it. And it's been done. And also I'd like to thank Paul for the Food for Thought Radio. That was fantastic. It worked a treat, didn't it? Perfect.
It's all working fine. I'll give you some lead-in music next time before the final, so that you've got sort of like something running for a minute, really quiet in the background, so that you know you're coming to the end. Okay, and
Hype up
then
music.
in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to have ad breaks at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Right,
fantastic.
you know, like Mark promoting his show and stuff. Yeah, so you just take a 2 or 3 minute break so I can make my tea and stuff like that. It's important, you know. So and give the listeners a little break as well along the way. So that's what we'll do.
That's right. And I'd also that's brilliant. Thanks, Paul. And I'd like to thank everybody in chat who's done some remarkable, got some remarkable information tonight. Thank you, everyone. Is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers now before we sign off? Steve, Paul, Anorak, Patrick?
Thanks, everyone. for listening.
Far out.
I would encourage anybody anyone's found the debate we've had this evening to be beneficial or interesting, check out somebody called Larkin Rose or Mark Passio online, and all of these points will be elaborated to the point where the belief in government will eventually start to become a point of how on earth did I ever get to be this way inclined.
And,
well, thanks very much.
Paul, have you anything to say? You know,
I'm tired. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun. It's been good. Been really good. Yeah, enjoyed it tonight.
Patrick
really good.
and Anorak, Anorak, thank you so much for coming on. You put some very good points over as well. And it didn't actually, we didn't envisage this because it was going to be the occult tonight we was going to talk about, and suddenly, boom, it just spat off into a different direction. But that's what makes it exciting. Well, thank you, everyone. I'd just like to say Paul English is on this Thursday. Have you got anything to say, Paul, about the show this Thursday?
No, I'm going to be talking about Rupert Lowe. How about that?
Really? Rupert Lowe.
This radio
slagging them off.
No, I'm not slagging him off at all. I think it's fantastic. I'm quite serious about it. I don't believe in government, but that's not the point. That's not the point I'm trying to make at all.
Yeah.
I think the point is I can see
anything
your point.
that helps us, anything from any area where people are pushing in the right direction is to be encouraged. And when they fail you, it's like a horse. You get off it and you find another one. That's my tactic. I don't. It's not a conviction in individuals being able to hold the line. He's 67 and he's doing more than most 67-year-olds to try and say things. He was against the jab. He never got jabbed. If you see some of the things he says, they're good things. That doesn't mean a great deal, but it means more than what the other people are saying, in my view. And the more people that speak like that within those circles, the better it will be, because it'll encourage those people currently who can't find their courage and are intimidated and are suffering from the concerns naturally of fear and anxiety about things, to hopefully begin to lose that. I'm not saying he's going to do that personally. I'm just saying it's good. And anybody that comes out and says we've got to get rid of halal and kosher meat is nobody else is saying that. It's a big deal. It is a biggie. It's just to get the topics raised in people's heads, because everything starts with thinking. And if they're not thinking about the right topics, you can forget about people waking up and being moral and all that kind of stuff. There's no pathway for them. So it's just about laying more bricks down on a good path, I hope. We'll see. He might turn out to be a complete dud. But given what he said last week, that wasn't a dud, in my view. But you never can tell. So
that's
there we
brilliant.
Go.
Well, thank you very much.
May I say one thing before we go?
Certainly.
Okay. I think that we need to put the phones down and stop scrolling and read more books, because human wisdom is contained in books, and we need to be wiser than we are, and we'll be less fearless, or we'll be less fearful if we have more wisdom and more knowledge on our side. So read books, everybody.
Well, with that in mind, Patrick, something I was thinking of while we were on air earlier on was that with phones, people don't then think, do they? They're like zombies. They just look at the phone and don't actually do anything. Yeah. Whereas without the phones, people might actually start sitting back and thinking about things, and rather than being distracted with shitty videos that are pointless.
Yeah, and the stillness and just being able to not even have anything in front of you and just meditate and contemplate and examine your conscience. That's another thing to do.
And I get sick of people coming up to me saying, "Oh, look at this! It's a cat dancing." And I think, sod off. I don't want to know.
Hey, have you got that video? I want that. This is cool. I love cat dancing videos.
Oh no, he's dancing along. And yeah, it's very nice.
They're great, aren't they? Cat dancing videos. I love them, mate. They're great.
It's right. Anyway, thank you, everyone, and remember, shove the old thumbs up. Consider subscribing, because it's free of charge. Because it really does help this. And would you like a very last poll report before we go?
Sure.
We've got a total number, a breathtaking number of 8 people that's voted, and it's 25% yes, we need a government, 75% no, we don't need a government. But the poll is still there, so I'm going to keep it open so you can vote for your heart's content after the show ends.
I'm going to have to go and get a glass of wine here, Chris, at this rate.
That's right. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. And remember, whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night.